I'm not ready. And coming to you live here from the mountain overlooking the Kali River, originating in the northern Uttarakhand state of India in the Great Himalayas, bordering Nepal as well as India. The river gained infamy in 2007 after a series of fatal catfish attacks on humans. Ooh. We are here today with episode number 36 of the Pond. 36 of the PondCast. Once again, coming to you weekly for that dose of StarCraft 2 news and whatnot. I'm, of course, your host with a fresh fade, Yaku of the Zaku, and with me today is el exclusivo de las pepitas que las llenas a cubos, like _VIP, and as per usual, we are being produced by Pierre Wijuso Bove Sitko Kitore Moje Pokonak Trenera Wushu 16 Kuro, 16 Squats and Seki. How we all doing?
What's up, Yaku? What's up? It's great to be here. Great to be back once again with another episode of the PondCast. It's great to catch up, and this time, Yaku, we're here to catch up on everything that we've been missing out on. Finally catching up.
We're here.
Yeah, exactly. We're here with your weekly update on StarCraft tournaments and on StarCraft news as well. And honestly, there's a lot of news to go through. Surprising amount.
Yeah, a lot that some of them actually just came up within today itself, just within a couple hours of the show coming down. So glad our producer was able to catch them.
Yes, exactly. So we're here to update and we're here to jump on in. We have a lot to get through. So first thing is first, of course, the big news of the week from a couple of days ago is the GLHF MMA interview is out.
Yes, the one that I was most excited for, the one that I was waiting ever since I saw the name on that paywalled list of interviews to come. I was like, yes, let's fucking go. And honestly, very short one. I was not expecting this. I believe this is the shortest Korean interview that we've had so far. Not quite as short as the Yon Blue interview, but around that same time frame.
Yeah, especially considering like the history of MMA, and they even touched on it, right? Like the fact that he's been around since the beginning of SC2 through all 3 expansions. There's, I feel like, definitely a lot to discuss. There's a lot to get into. There's a lot that you can like dive into when it comes to MMA. There's a lot of potential when it comes to an interview.
Yeah, this one in particular, I felt focused more on things like the evolution of strategies and how the game itself and the metas themselves kind of evolve when, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of things that I feel like MMA could have gotten into, but, you know, at the same time, there's probably a lot that MMA also, I mean, even in this interview itself, they asked him about Slayers, and yeah, he gave kind of an evasive answer to what went down there.
Which, to be fair, is what we expected when it comes to any kind of question about Slayers. When it comes to MMA, Ryung, like Crank, like they don't want to like speak poorly on a fellow person in the scene. So definitely it's something that we're probably not going to hear from them. But despite that, there's still a lot more to get into. And yeah, I agree. I feel like there's maybe a bit of a missed opportunity, at least with certain aspects. But regardless, you know, the interview was still held, and we still did get to hear some thoughts from MMA regarding quite a lot of things, actually.
Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, especially in the early days, right? When he was saying that he kind of got his start not knowing how good he actually was, just playing the original StarCraft at Brood War with his friends, and then all of a sudden getting roped by another friend into playing in the GSL Open bracket, and yeah, kind of getting signed on from there. And yeah, I think it was also really cool when he kind of talked about his experience in early Wings of Liberty and seeing just how much the tournament organizers really took care of the players, being the sign in his head to kind of think, oh, this is starting to get bigger.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of history that we went through. First thing, which I always find really fascinating, was, right, as you mentioned, like his introduction to StarCraft. How he started as a Brood War player, of course, like many others, where he was just kind of playing with his friends. He started in a school tournament, and then kind of advanced on from there, and he didn't realize just how far he could or would go. What I found really interesting when it comes to his transition into SE2 is that he actually spoke about he spoke about how at the time he was taking a break and he wasn't really too interested in playing RTSs or playing esports or competing in esports, I should say. And he was also saying that he had already gotten some injuries, like he already had like
Yep.
wrist and finger injuries even before SE2 came out, which I found interesting just because that's like we're learning things about MMA that we didn't quite know about before and some intricacies as to how he started.
Yeah, these are things that I feel aren't really well known. Like I knew about them, but I would argue the biggest MMA fanboy out there. I'm at least right next to Zombie Grub in being a big MMA fanboy. He's my favorite player. So yeah, these are things that I actually legitimately I had to delve deep to figure out, looking through things like really old like highlight articles that were written about him way back in like 2010 and 2011, way deep in the archives and stuff like that. There's also that again, they touched on it a little bit in that documentary that was produced a couple of years ago that featured MMA and MC, but again, that documentary isn't available anywhere anymore. Like, it was briefly available on the Google Play Store and the Apple Store, but it's really hard to find nowadays.
Yeah. It's one of the things that hopefully gets brought up, I'm sure, throughout the course of this documentary series, potentially. But on top of that, he also spoke about how he was really apprehensive about playing SE2. He spoke about how, outside of just his wrist injuries, he was talking. He was asked like what was some big differences he noticed about between Brutal and SE2, and he was talking about how like SE2 seemed like really a lot faster as a game, and he was kind of worried about that or concerned about that going into it. This is where I felt like there was a missed opportunity to like ask him a question, a little bit more specifically as to uh, why he was able to succeed so much more in SE2 and what he enjoyed about it a
Yeah.
little bit more than Brood War, because it was very vague. He said a couple of lines like, oh, like he said that he found a way to get better in SE2. I think this is when he was talking about like his team league run, and he spoke about how
How he
how like
became
he
the
had
ace with Slayers. He went from like
yeah,
a
yeah.
semi-pro in Pro League, like never being
Mhm.
fielded in Brute War Pro League, to
Yes.
all of a sudden becoming the ace in GSTL.
Yeah. Yeah, and he said like, this was his time sort of stuff, like these are like individual like statements, but he never like was asked a little bit more specifically about it, about like why he felt that way or like what was different this time when it came to his play and all that stuff. Like he never got into any real specifics as to any kind of big differences or what he really latched onto when it comes to SE2.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one because that's honestly something that I think a lot of people have been speculating for a while. Like, why was MMA able to succeed so much in that era, and what specifically he was doing? I think most people just kind of assumed it was because of I Love Wu's coaching, but there's got to be more to it than that, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to talk about, right? Like, even when it comes to they spoke about Slayers, and Zombie Girl, she's a massive boxer and the biggest boxer and the biggest Slayers fan out there. So they spoke a little bit more about that. But like even then, he wasn't really talked. They didn't really ask him about like his experience, working under boxer, right, and how and any kind of like special training regimen or what they would do. Like again, he gave like some vague generalities, talking about how like like it was pretty similar to like the SKT team house, but like on a smaller scale. But like he never got
Which,
into like the weeds of it, which we did get from other players with their own like team house experiences, right?
yeah, Crank talked about it quite a bit about his
Mm.
experience in the, I think it was the Seoul
SKT.
team house initially. Yeah, Seoul, and
Oh
then
yeah.
later SKT, and then
Mm.
later and then later Slayers, and then later Axiom and stuff like that. And I believe
Mhm.
it was DRG. Did DRG talk about his time in MVP? I think he did in his interview.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
he spoke about it.
those are definitely things that could have been interesting to hear about. Like you said, what the regimen itself was like in the SKT and in the Slayers team house. I mean, it's probably similar based on what MMA was saying over here, but on a
Mhm.
smaller scale. Which again leads into my theory that feeds into my theory that the early ESF teams were really trying to emulate Kespa, but with way
Mhm.
fewer resources
Mhm.
than what Kespa had available to them. But
Mhm.
yeah, I agree. It would have definitely been really interesting to hear more from that perspective, and not just what it was like living in the the SKT and the Slayer's house, but also transitioning to Team Acer and what that was kind of like. Again, he
Mm.
talked about it a little bit and said, "Oh yeah, when I joined Team Acer, they flew me to Germany a lot. I played in a lot of European tournaments during my time in Acer, and so on and so forth." But I don't know. I feel like MMA joining Team Acer, and I could be wrong here, but back in the day, that was a huge deal. The fact that you had the ace of Slayers, one of the top Korean players, joining a foreign team, and that, again, if I recall correctly, that actually caused a little bit of controversy in the Korean scene. Like, obviously, foreign fans were really excited about that, as they should have been. But
Mhm.
I, from what I've heard, a lot of Koreans at the time were thinking like, "Oh, who does this guy think he is? He thinks he can succeed without the team house regimen, stuff like that."
Well, especially because like Acer very quickly became one of the best teams outside of
Yeah,
Korea, or I guess period actually, because this is before Kespa came over.
absolutely.
Um, but yeah, like
You,
this is something where a lot of interviews so
yeah,
far they've kind of touched on like Team Liquid and EG, right? Because there's a
mhm.
legacy behind them. But alongside them, you had teams like Axiom, like Acer as well, which had some big names, which achieved a lot as
Are-
well. But they we didn't really delve into that, right?
yeah, I think that period when they had MMA, Innovation, Scarlet, and Nurtio
Yeah.
on the roster at the same time, they were arguably the strongest foreign team out there. I mean, you could argue Team Liquid because Liquid had Teja and Hero, but I feel like those were the outliers on Team Liquid, whereas Team Acer itself, even though MMA and Innovation were kind of the ace players, overall, all of their players were pretty strong. Like Nurtio and Scarlet, they were acknowledged as being some of the best foreign players at the time.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, they definitely were, and I was really looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that. Like he spoke about like Acer gave them a lot of like opportunities, or gave him a little bit of opportunity to travel. It would have been nice to have heard a little bit of that as well, like about like his experience traveling, how it felt as a player, any notable places that he went to. They did ask him about some specific tournaments. That is true, but I think one of the reasons why I'm a little bit disappointed about how in depth they got is because MMA
Or the
is
lack of that.
yeah, well, the lack of depth is because MMA is a pretty big name. Like he has like such a
Yeah,
big history in StarCraft, and I feel
he
like he's deserving
he
to get a little bit more of an in-depth interview.
he's a player who said a lot of firsts that they got
Hmm.
into a little bit towards the end of the interview and kind of asked him how he felt about these things. Like, again, first player to achieve a triple crown, first
Yeah.
player to win a premier tournament in every single expansion: Wings of Liberty, Heart of
Hmm.
Swarm, and Legacy of the Void. And also, I believe the only player to have won a premier tournament five. Well, actually, no, until about 2023,
Hmm.
MMA, I think, was the only player to win a premier tournament for 5 years in a row. Or every year he
Yeah.
would win at least one premier tournament for 5 years, from 2011 up until, or no, 2010 up until his retirement in 2015.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
recently,
Yeah.
and I think recently Cyril, Maru have, and other top players have kind of overtaken that, but
Mhm.
it was a bigger deal back in the day because obviously it was a lot less defined, right? Back
Yeah.
then, who was at the absolute top of the pack and who was at the bottom. Like, there was a lot more,
Well,
as opposed to nowadays, where we look at a bracket and we're like, oh yeah, Cyril's probably going to win this, Clem's probably going to win this, Max Facts,
I think
etc.
yeah, I think one of the biggest things for MMA, and this is, and I'm a little bit surprised I didn't talk about it as a BlizzCon run, by the way. But one
Yeah,
of the biggest things about MMA is
2014.
at these big events like BlizzCon, for example, this is when Kesper had gotten into StarCraft 2, when they had transitioned over, and
Yes,
MMA, of course, he was one of the more foreigner Koreans where he was competing outside of GSL, he was competing in foreign events, despite that, still doing really well at BlizzCon against these big Kesper Koreans. And that was a big
I
deal. Like that was surprising to a lot of people that he was beating players like Classic or like Hero, like these other big Korean names that were coming from the Korean teams.
I remember finding from the archives an old like a power ranking or like a Road to BlizzCon. I think they called it Road to
Yeah.
BlizzCon, something like that, for
Yeah.
2014 specifically. And
Uh-huh.
they were saying things like, "Oh yeah, MMA, he's good. We can't count him out. He's somebody who always, like, whenever he looks like he's underperforming, he'll come back and he'll amaze us once again." But we got to put him at the bottom of the ranking, man. You know, you look at these other
Yeah.
players like Classic. I remember there was so much hype around Innovation
Mhm.
this time because it was just
Yep.
after he won his first Code S. Like Classic, Innovation, Sue, etc.
Mhm.
Finals, MMA made it all
Yeah,
the way
that
there.
like that was huge. Like because I agree with his power rankings at the time. Like he was not a favorite coming into it. Like yes, he's a really good player, but again, there's so much prestige around the other Kespert Koreans or even Innovation as well, right? I think this was before. I think he was still maybe on Ace. This is before SKT.
No, this was just after he won. He joined SKT, so
Okay,
just
yeah,
after,
yeah.
yeah.
But like there was just so much hype around these players and for good reason that they're really good, and then MMA comes out of nowhere just competing in foreign events, and then he makes it all the way to the finals, right? It was crazy, it was insane. So yeah, like that's kind of what I want to hear about it, because it was impressive,
Yeah,
and they didn't really
that
touch on that too much.
that I think would have been a really good question to pose to him as well, because I think that's
Mhm.
also a reason why MMA has had so many fans throughout the years is just his ability to just pick himself up again after
Mhm.
so many defeats, so many underperforming for so long, not having a great team environment at times, and even having personal injuries and things like that. That would have been a great question to ask him, like, how are you able to just do that, to just get back up over and over
Yeah.
again?
Yeah, because I definitely understand these more general questions to some of these other players or other people that were interviewed. That makes sense more in my mind, like for John the Translator or Chobra or some of these other casters or content creators. But when you have a player, especially a player like MMA, I feel like that's the interview where you do want to get into more specifics, where you do want to make it a little bit more personal to the player as well. And that's not quite what we got here. I mean, it was still really good to hear his thoughts about certain things, about certain tournaments, about Slayers, for example, even what little we got. He was asked like some more general questions about, the meta, right? Broodlord, Infestor, Swarm Hose, like these were questions that were asked of him. But I at the end of the interview, I'll be honest, I feel left wanting, right? I feel left like wanting more out of it. And yeah, it's I mean, again,
Yeah,
like what was asked here was still good, but yeah, would have wanted more.
yeah. I'm assuming that most of the questions that were asked here are meant specifically to feed into the eventual documentary that's
100%.
gonna happen. So yeah, I imagine that the questions were structured in kind of that way. But like you said, I feel
Mhm.
like you have an opportunity with MMA.
Yeah.
Personally, I would take full advantage of that. I would ask him
Mhm.
everything. I would
Yeah.
I would keep him locked in that seat for 6 hours and just be like, so what
Mhm.
did this thing happen? And after, until the point where he's like, I don't I have no recollection of anything you're talking about.
True. That is something that I found
I
funny from MMA. I think it was the fruit dealer question, right? Where he was asked about
right.
like, oh, what are your thoughts on being fruit dealer? He's like, I have no strong memory,
Who?
so I guess I didn't think very strongly about it.
Yeah,
I guess I didn't care. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Funny stuff. And another the other funny thing was towards the end where he was asked like, "Oh, so did you watch Cyril versus Clem at Esports World Cup?" And he's like, "I didn't watch it, but I saw the result, and you know what? Cyril would have won if he didn't lose." It's like,
Very insightful.
oh,
That's I also, I'll be honest, I also was a little bit disappointed with that question just because for some of the other older interviewees, they were asked if they still keep up with StarCraft, and we got some
mhm.
surprising answers and surprising results. When he was asked that, it almost made it sound like he might still watch a little bit of StarCraft, like because he was asked, did he
Yeah,
watch it? And he said, I wanted to. He said, oh, I wanted to watch it, but I just saw the results,
yeah,
implying that maybe he still watches. It would have been nice to have asked him, like, oh, do you still keep up with StarCraft a little bit, like the Korean stuff or the foreign stuff? Do you like tune into it every now and then, or not really? Like things like that would be really nice to hear from a retired player, right? Like what we
yeah.
heard from some of the older people.
Yeah. That's also another thing that I think might have been maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity, but again, I'm assuming that it might not be relevant to the eventual documentary that's come out. But I
Mhm.
feel like he could have been asked a little bit more about, like, what it's like after retirement for a lot of StarCraft pros. Because
Yeah.
you remember MMA, after retiring from StarCraft, he actually took up
Mhm.
coaching. He was the coach
Yeah.
of an Overwatch team. What was it? Gen G.
Dynasty.
Initially Gen
Seoul
G,
Dynasty.
and then later on he got promoted. And then later on he got promoted to coaching the A team, Seoul Dynasty. The B team
Mhm.
was Gen G, the A team was Seoul Dynasty. So yeah, it could have been an interesting question to ask, like not just from MMA side, but also like, do you know other pros who have retired? What have what
Mhm.
seems to be the thing that most retired players do now?
Yeah, I would have loved to have heard his reasoning for that as well, and if he thought about coming back, right? Because there are a lot of pros that they went to the military, like MMA, and they made the decision to come back, right? Like Zhao
Mhm.
recently, even Taja, he was less
Tejas, yeah,
successful, but he
for
did come back
for
after
a
the
little while.
military. Hero, Classic, like there are players from MMA's era that did decide to come back, that did decide to keep competing. It would have been cool to have heard, right? Like if he obviously, we know the answer to that. The answer is he chose not to.
Yeah,
But like, if he thought about it, if it was a hard decision, is he ever attempted to play again? Right? Like, these are some questions that would be interesting to hear his perspective on, especially like now like a retired ex pro player, ex like champion.
yeah.
Mhm. For sure, for sure. Something that I did find interesting was MMA's. To talk about the positive about the interview, I found it
Mhm.
really interesting to hear
Yes.
his perspective about the region look. I felt it was an interesting one, considering that he's a player that was impacted by it. If you recall, he
Mhm.
was asked like what he thought about it. Was it good? Was it bad? And he did mention that that he was a little bit surprised by the region look because, in his perspective at least, because he was always playing in these foreign events,
Mhm.
he felt like the foreign scene was quite strong. Was like quite there were a lot of like
Yeah.
really good foreign players. So he was a little bit surprised by the region look from his perspective.
Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, MMA, like 6 months out of the year, he would be playing from the Acer House in Germany, or
Yeah.
was it the Acer House or was it the SK House? Not the SKT House. That's in
Mhm.
Korea. I mean SK Gaming. That's
Gaming.
the German team. Not
Mhm.
confusing at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure where exactly he was staying, but yeah, like he spent a lot of time abroad. He spent a lot of time practicing abroad, so he definitely. It sounded like he had a lot of respect for a lot of the foreign players that he was competing against,
Yeah.
right? And that's something that a lot of the other like Kesper Koreans didn't really have, right? Only a select few of them were able to compete abroad, so they just didn't really have that experience with the foreign scene, anywhere near as much as MMA.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear. The other thing that I felt like, as always, I feel like for some of these interviews, they spoke about him being the ace player for Slayers in GSTL.
Mhm.
They glossed over once again the Axiom Esport like era of StarCraft
Yeah.
where he was also the ace player for Axiom Esports, and they didn't talk about like his rivalry with Ryung, Innovation joining Acer, and then
Right.
Innovation taking over as like the ace and the MVP of the team. Like I feel like there was a lot to discuss there, sort of thing, and they didn't quite do it. And I also quickly double checked
Yeah.
something because you spoke about how back in the day, like teams like Team Liquid and stuff like that were considered a little bit better. I quickly checked because I remember the Acer Team Story Cup results, and teams like
Mhm.
Team Liquid and these other big foreign teams were competing in that, and Acer they beat them. Like they they
On
they won
top.
those big
Yeah.
events. Like they'd be the favorites coming into that.
Yeah. Yeah. It would have been interesting to hear, like, what was it like, especially from the tail, because I feel like the Axiom Acer run in that final GSTL was especially
Mhm.
it was especially important to MMA himself, who, like you were saying, he was the ace player from Slayers, and obviously a lot of players from Slayers ended up joining Axiom, Ryung, Crank, and Alicia,
Mhm.
most notably. They
Mhm.
were originally on Slayers, and then later they joined Axiom Acer. When MMA, I think, kind of left Slayers, I think most people were kind of it was considered kind of his slump era at the time, and this was also after just after Gumiho all killed
Mhm.
Slayers, including beating MMA in that final match, which again was really important for MMA to win. Like he really wanted to kind of prove himself there, and so that was, for a lot of people, they thought that that was going to be the end of MMA, at least in team leagues and stuff like that. But then, like you were saying, came back after Acer teamed up with Axiom. became the ace player for Axiom Acer and then ended up winning the entire damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been nice to hear a bit more
Yeah.
from that perspective of like, oh, what was it like to win the GSTL again after having that after not playing in the team league for so long and your last season kind of ending in disgrace like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like, did that impact him at all? Did it deter him from competing, from coming back in because of all the drama with Slayers? Right? Was he apprehensive about joining Acer, about joining another team? Right? Like, is it something that he wanted to do? Is it not? Like, I feel like there's there's definitely a lot of history there that we didn't quite get, but yeah, regardless, yeah.
Yeah. Kuro brings up a good point. There was a prank war between MMA and Ryung back in the day.
Yeah.
Ryung, like not photoshopping, but like drawing on pictures of MMA in Microsoft Paint. Those are available. Those are available somewhere. I'm sure Crank probably still has them saved somewhere. The arm wrestling tournament between the two of them. That kind of rivalry. That kind of rivalry that transcended beyond the game, where they were both like going to the gym all the time. And like, I'm gonna get more swole than you, bro.
For sure. I think for more recent stuff, I think we've been hearing from MMA. For those who don't know, I think he got inspired. I'm pretty sure he did, because I think maybe a couple of months ago, he showed that he went on for an outing with Impact, and after meeting up with Impact again, he's been going to the gym more regularly.
Yep.
He's like back at it, back at improving himself. He sees how swole Impact goes. He's like, man, I can't let this young kid outdo me. So he's going back into it. And
do you think MMA and Ryung look at Impact and are just completely shocked? They were like, the little brother now is what's the term? Not Daesung?
Is it Dongsang?
Dongsang. It's like,
yeah.
Oh man, Dongsang's getting bigger than us. We can't allow this.
Yeah, true. No. So yeah, it was great to hear from MMA once again. And yeah, with that, look forward to. I mean, we still have more interviews coming in from South Korea. We did hear that there was some issues when it comes to bringing these, when it comes to some of the subtitling or editing. But thankfully, we're back on track when it comes to these Korean interviews, and I feel and there is still more to come. And we'll see what is discussed with him, especially because, especially if another top player like this gets involved. I do hope that they're able to have an interview a little bit more in depth with the player themselves. I mean, I understand that the documentary series is a little bit more general, and it's about the history of StarCraft as a whole. But at the same time, like, we did get pretty in depth with some of the other like Brood War players, like with a lot of the old Brood War players, like they were much more in depth.
And I think there's a very strong argument to be made that some of these players actually did make history in esports, in StarCraft, and also in esports in general. Again, MMA being the first player to win the Triple Crown. I think in esports in general, just because this is an era where esports wasn't exactly global, was a lot more regional as opposed to global. So yeah, a lot of really great stuff there. A lot of really momentous. Groundbreaking achievements that a lot of these players have achieved.
Yeah, 100%. So hopefully that is discussed when it comes to some of these player interviews. And again, I look forward to more GLHF interviews to come in the coming months, or in the coming weeks, in the coming months. That leads us into another interview that did take place, something a little bit more niche, maybe not as much of a legacy player, but more of an up-and-coming younger player in the European region.
Yeah, and quite a bit of a different what's the word I'm thinking of here? Like a very different era, shall we say, but one that's still very important to have: interviews and highlights of up-and-coming players of new blood kind of rising within the scene itself. And so, yeah, Fjant recently did an interview with his team, which of course stands for Against All Authority. And yeah, it's pretty good. It's not a video, it's text, and I'm sure that for a lot of us who have trouble with attention, that might be not as appealing, but it's still really well done, and I strongly encourage everybody to read through it. Definitely a lot of insights that he's delivered here. about things like his mindset, how he's been able to improve because of changing his mindset and things like that. What the future looks like for New Blood, and one thing that I really liked talking about a little bit here is asking him about what he thought were underrated players in the scene, players who are good but kind of go unnoticed.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool to see that this interview even happened. As you mentioned, right? Like, I don't even know how uh, Team AAA actually got in touch or even had the idea to interview Fjant. Fjant, of course, is still on Team Roddy, which is why, like, I don't know where the connection is with this. But I guess clearly the interviewee is a fan of StarCraft and wanted to showcase Fjant, which is really cool to see. And yeah, it was a really unique perspective because, as you were saying, Fjant is one of these next generation pro players, right? Where they come in deep into the lifespan of StarCraft and somehow they find their way in. And yeah, it's just crazy to think that you have, these players playing StarCraft like Legacy for the first time, like well within its lifespan, or even Heart of the Swarm for the first time. It's crazy.
Yeah, I forgot how young Fjant is.
Yeah.
Gent, if you will.
hmm Oh yeah, very young. I mean, he just turned 18. It was really cool to hear him talking about like his first RTS was like one level in Wii Lego Star Wars, which is crazy. It's like what? That's how he
That's
got
a
into.
thing?
That's how the kids are getting into RTSs nowadays. Nowadays, through like Wii Lego Star Wars games. Like, it's like, okay. I guess
Yeah.
that's a thing. I had no idea.
Yeah. How did the I'm trying to think now. How did the different eras of kids
hmm
get into RTS? Now that I'm thinking about it, because thinking
Yeah.
back, yeah, in my school, RTS was not a thing. This would have been like 2013, 2014. By that point,
hmm
RTS was not something that kids were playing anymore. In my school,
hmm
the esports titles were all League of Legends, Dota 2, Counter Strike.
hmm Yeah. So that's why it's at least interesting to me, right? Because in this era, when there's no new big RTSs, how are they finding their way in? Through their own ways, I suppose, or even through like
Hmm.
some other siblings or other people in the
That
family. Mhm.
that I think is the most common one, right? Like we hear it
Yeah.
all the time from the yeah, I guess technically they are Zoomer players. Maru, Cyril, Clem, all these players born after like 1994. Let's say that's a cutoff.
hmm
It's like, oh yeah, my dad introduced me,
It's a
or
cutoff
my
for
mom
Zoomer?
introduced me, or my aunt, or actually even older than that. I remember Laser, who I think is a little
hmm
bit of an older player now, saying that he got introduced to RTS games and Blizzard games because his dad played Warcraft
hmm
1, 2, 3, and StarCraft.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of what we're getting into nowadays, right? Where it's the parents that are playing the RTSs, and that's how the kids get introduced. So, yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to hear for sure. When it came to the interview itself, it was really cool to hear his perspective on his on how he improves, how he practices, how he plays. Of course, he's not in any kind of like team house environment. This is later on where we're mainly relying on the ladder for practice. And he was talking about, at least recently, has been focusing a lot on his kind of mental state, or his
Yep.
perspective on the games, his perspective on losses as well.
Yeah, in particular, he said that like keeping a positive,
Mhm,
like staying positive is like really important for him right now.
mhm,
He talked about it a little bit because he recently hit 6K MMR, which is absolutely huge. That's really difficult to get. I'm like not even halfway there personally, but yeah, he talked about it and how he said like when he was right on the cusp of 6K, when he was in like 5.8K MMR range, he would every time he lost, he would like linger on it. He would be like, "Oh, this is so stupid," or he would kind of ruminate and kind of think, "Oh, if the balance was a little bit different, I could have won that," or if this was a little bit different, I could have won that, so on and so forth. And yeah, he felt himself actually getting worse the more he lingered on those. But then, when he tried
mhm.
to stay positive a little bit, he started doing a little bit better, which actually got me to think a little bit back. I know it's been weeks since we last talked about this, but I kind of forgot to bring it up when we discussed this back then in the Muslim interview that he had with SC
Mhm,
Historian. One thing that I was supposed to bring up, but I forgot to during the podcast was something that really stuck with me, where that the Muslim said, if you want to improve at games, you have to enjoy the game first and foremost. Like you cannot
mhm,
a lot of people will tell you that if you're tilted or if you're not having fun, just grind through it because you have to just keep grinding and grinding. But in actuality, you hit diminishing returns very quickly if you're playing under that mindset. You have to be enjoying the game first and foremost if you want to improve.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And yeah, that definitely did help Fjant. Maybe not necessarily when it comes to enjoying, but like he definitely changed his perspective on the games themselves. It did seem like more of an ego thing where he even mentioned how, once he got into GM, his mental perspective changed, where initially he was thinking after each game how to improve, whereas when he hit GM or when he hit 5.7k, he thought that like he would blame other things for a loss, right? Like whether it's balance, whether it's play styles, and things of that nature. Whereas nowadays he does typically think that the better player does win, and now he has a positive outlook on improving and on bettering as a player, right? And on improving at the esport. So it's really cool to hear that he has made that change. I know that it can sometimes be difficult. I know that some players or some people can be stuck like in that other mindset, and then that's when you get like people on Reddit or people in Twitch chat crying about balance all the time. Yeah, crying about balance all the time, and that's how they blame things, and you see it so commonly, and it's great to see that Fjant has broken out of that for sure.
In my defense, I don't resort to saying if this unit was different. No. I resort to saying if I had different eyes, I would have been able to see this.
If only you were younger. True. If only.
Only my eyes were open.
Oh God, no. Yeah, it was really cool to hear that from Fjant. Likewise, he touched on Team Roddy on his team, on how he was practicing with Sebestes. I didn't know how close they were as friends, so it was really cool to hear that.
Yeah, I found it really interesting as well. They were saying like they practice on. Wait, let me scroll down here to see what it was specifically said here. Every half moon, they play custom games. That is very specific.
Yeah. It's I mean that can be some state of some teams, right, where they don't necessarily like play together. They're a team and they work together when it comes to team matches. But like their practice is a little bit more individualistic instead. But he did have still positive things to say about the team itself. As you mentioned, he did briefly touch on like upcoming players, and he did bring up players that we're quite familiar with as well. Also, by happenstance, also very young players as well.
Yeah, I guess we can go into them a little bit. I remember reading this list and just pointing out like, I know that guy. I know all of these people.
Yeah, we caught stock. Yeah, that's crazy.
They might go unnoticed by others, but we noticed them. Yeah, he was talking about how in the CIS region there are a lot of players who really go unnoticed for understandable reasons. But yeah, he was saying that GG Machine, Art, UD Soldier, and Young Yakov are probably the ones that he kind of looks at as the ones who, well, less so Young Yakov, but more of just those previous players that I just mentioned. Those are the ones who he thinks deserves more recognition for their skill themselves. And then, of course, he talked about Young Yakov, Battlebee, and Forjumi as players who are potentially going to be the next breakout players for their respective races. And I think I agree with that. I was a little bit surprised with Battlebee, just because I feel like, but I think that's more bias on my part, just because I see a lot more of players like Nicoract, right, and players like that. But I don't really get to catch a lot of Battlebee. But from what I hear, from what I hear from the EU players and the EU viewers, Battlebee is somebody who has a lot of potential, and I take their word for it.
I would agree with you. I think the problem with Battlebee right now is that he is less active. Straight up, he is less active than these other players. But our perspective is watching tournaments, and maybe he's still active on the ladder, right? Like maybe that's where that perspective comes from.
On the
Like
ladder, maybe playing custom games with other players a lot.
Exactly. So I would agree that I would maybe place maybe someone like a Nick Ract or a Milky Cow up there. But that's only just because like Battleby isn't your regular in these online open cups. I'm a little bit surprised that Shameless wasn't mentioned when it comes to one of
Yeah.
the underrated players. Like we hype up Shameless a lot, and he wasn't brought up. But outside of that, completely agree. Like we've been hyping, like we've seen for Jumi, and we're gonna get into more of his
Yeah.
results coming into this week as we always
Oh
do.
yeah.
When it comes to like when it comes to these big upsets, young Yakov as well. So yeah, it's nice that he was asked that question. He's able to bring shed some light on some of these other players.
Yeah. I was like this line. I know this kid, Young Zest. I'm pretty sure Young Zest is older, a little bit older than
Uh-huh.
you, Fjant. But
True,
yeah, you know,
true.
he's a kid. Young's in his
I
name. How can he not be?
I'm actually not sure. I think
Mhm.
Youngs actually is really young. They may be below 18. Like I remember there
Yeah,
was an
so he
issue
might
where
actually be
couldn't
young.
he
Unlike
couldn't participate
I
in
I
tournaments.
I just looked it up. Actually, yeah, he's 2 years younger than Fjant. I'm
there you go,
surprised. I
there you
feel
go.
like Young Zest was very active during WCS China back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be. I think you have to be 15 to play, but yeah, Young Zesty, he's a player that we've definitely featured plenty of times on the channel. Um, his perspective on the Chinese scene, I think that was true a year ago. Nowadays,
Yeah,
especially because of Oliveira retiring and because of what's happening right now in the Chinese scene, I don't know how
FSD
accurate that
boy,
is, but
like
yeah, like
downsizing,
taking a
and
bit of a step back.
another bit of news that we're gonna get into pretty soon. But yeah, the Chinese
hmm
region does seem to be taking a pretty big step back, as you were saying.
Yeah, it's not as vibrant as it was a year ago,
Uh,
which is a little bit surprising. Like if you asked me a year ago that China would be the one
yeah,
that would be weakening a little bit, I wouldn't have bet on that.
yeah, 100% agree with you on that. But and that's just how it goes, right? I think a lot of the established pros in China, like even not just Oliveira, who's retiring soon, but players like Fire, not Firefly. What's his name?
Cyan,
Uh, Cyan. Yeah, yeah. Players like Cyan
Lancer,
having Lancer.
Lancer.
There we go. I was
Yeah,
trying to remember because I was like, it's not
yeah.
Cyan anymore. What is it? Yeah, Lancer.
True,
Players like
true.
Lancer getting getting a little bit older, having different priorities in life now. Lancer
Mhm.
busy trying to prevent his son from falling into the ways of Zerg,
True. Smart.
falling to the dark side. So
Yeah.
yeah, and
I mean,
like
mhm.
you were saying, it's also another surprise because I feel like there's a lot of amateur Chinese events that are going on. A lot of a lot of support for that kind of semi-professional level, at least from tournament organizers. But yeah, I guess the pro teams and investors aren't really looking at these, or aren't really looking to pick up more blood. And obviously, it's kind of hard to be a semi-pro in StarCraft 2 nowadays. So completely understandable if
Yeah.
these amateurs and whatnot decided to not pursue pro gaming.
I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, you kind of touched on it. I mean, it doesn't help that kind of the big shining star in the Chinese scene, I want to say for last year, was Firefly. And then the
Yeah,
controversy came out with that, and that really, I think,
match fixing scandal
hurt
with
the
them.
scene a little bit. So yeah, that definitely didn't help at all. When it comes to the Chinese scene
Yeah,
and the Chinese region. Um, but with that, that leads us into our next setup here. And again, shout out to AAA or Team
oh,
AAA for interviewing Fjant. It was really
yeah,
cool to hear that. And maybe we'll see some more interviews. Again, like
yeah.
I just wasn't expecting one out of Fjant. Might see some more in the future.
Captain Fish brings out a good point. The next favorite player.
True. Yeah, step aside, Battleby. It's gonna be it's gonna be Captain Fish.
We have our
True.
favorite.
I'm pretty sure Captain Fish, he's more active than Battleby when it comes to online tournaments. Just saying.
Yeah,
Just like oh no.
Captain Fish. He
Oh,
won something this past
true.
week.
Oh my god. True.
Take that, Battle P.
Oh no. God. As that leads us into our next little topic here, and that is going to be sort of seems like a bit of a trend. Every now and then we're getting these
Every week
videos
we're
from
getting these.
certain,
I
yeah,
feel like next week
from
I'm getting close to making one.
you're like guys,
Yeah, it's
I'm gonna step
so
away from laddering. I
Protoss.
did. True, true.
No, I'll get into it a little bit, but yeah. So we'll talk about let's talk about this first. Yeah, sort of has put out a recent video that's similar to Hero Marine and to Lambo's videos from these past couple of weeks. A lot shorter, and obviously that is because sort of nowadays he's not really a professional player. He's focusing a lot more on streaming, on content creation, and yeah, he has just said like a couple of years ago that he is going to be focused on content creation as opposed to competing, competing at the highest level. But even still, most of that content was in StarCraft 2, and with this video, he's announcing that he would like to take a step back from that and have a little bit more variety, in particular a bit more AoE 4 in his when it comes to his streams and his videos. And the reason for it is, as I feel like it's a reason for everybody who is taking a step back. Well, everybody, the common reason for a lot of people taking a step back, whether they are a pro player or a content creator or even just a casual fan who just likes the ladder, fucking Protoss.
True, true. I mean, yeah, as you're saying, it's a more brief video, and I do want to give a shout out to sort of he has been grinding a lot when it comes to streaming. He's been doing a lot of ladder streams, a lot of content on his own channel on a daily basis. So he has been on that grind. We have noticed we often raid him as well whenever we end a stream. Like I look over and hey, it happens to be sort of. So we have been raiding him a lot, and he has been doing quite well for himself. As you said, I think it was last week we rated him and we got him to play in the Pigsty qualifier for the festival. And
we peer pressured him.
Yes, and he even said himself, he's like, you know what, I'll play if I don't get a lot of Protoss today on ladder. If I'm in a good mood, I'll play. And he ended up playing, which was great. I think he played against Creator in the end. Like he still faced the Protoss in the qualifier. He also cited, as we've seen from other people, it's just not very enjoyable for him to play ZVP. That's what it comes down to, like the enjoyment of the game. You actually touched on it previously when it comes to the interview, right? If you're not enjoying the game, then it's hard to really improve. Or hard to play StarCraft, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just... I mean, I get not enjoying the matchup, that's very understandable, but it's not even just not liking ZVP. It's also the fact that it's just so repetitious now, just because of how populated Protoss is on the ladder nowadays. And this is completely anecdotal, and obviously I'm on a much lower level. I'm a Diamond League player. But this is completely anecdotal. These past couple of days, I actually found a little bit of free time to ladder. I played 9 games. 6 of them were versus Protoss. 3 of them were versus Terran, and 1 of them was an insta-leaver. So, yeah, it's getting repetitious at this point. It's getting repetitive at this point.
Yeah.
I didn't face a single Zerg player in those ladder sessions.
No. Yeah, I mean, it's even right. It's even a little bit more skewed when it comes to like at the GM level,
levels,
right? Yeah. Yes, where Protoss is a lot more populated, a lot more dominant when it comes to representation, and right, it's as you were saying, it's less about like just how unenjoyable the matchup is, but you just have to keep playing it over and over and over again, and eventually, it does kind of chip away at someone's motivation. So we've gotten that now from Hero Marine, from Lambo, from sort of. Alaser didn't make a video on it, but we spoke earlier this year how Alaser's been playing a lot of Stormgate. Nowadays, Alaser is playing a lot of AoE. I don't know if you noticed, but he's been streaming a lot of AoE 4, just like or similarly to sort of as well, where he's playing other games.
Yeah, and I also appreciate this video just because I feel like this kind of shows that the repetitiveness of ladder nowadays isn't just a problem when it comes to the pro players who are trying to compete and improve. It's also affecting the content creators who obviously they want to create entertaining, good content that isn't the same thing over and over and over again. For
sure. And of course, this isn't sort of leaving SE2. He does still plan on playing it, just not 100%, not focusing 100% of his attention on it. Instead, splitting his attention with some other games.
Yeah, he said he's not. It's not going to be his main game anymore. He's still going to play it and he's still going to stream it, obviously, but he's going to be focusing on other games and in particular AoE4. He's actually live right now playing AoE4, so
there you go.
yeah, it's cool to see.
there you go. So best of luck to sort of. And again, I'm sure he will be back if certain changes are made or if something does happen with the meta, with the state of StarCraft. There's a reason why he's still playing it because he still devote a lot of time and still does have a lot of fondness for it.
If Thanos snaps his finger, but it only affects Protoss players.
Let's go.
Half the number of Protoss players.
No. Oh, no. It'd still be an underpopulated ladder for sure. I mean, so yeah, with that, that also leads us into our next bit of news here. A big bit of news that is going to be the Team Look at Map contest. Of course, submission phase did end a couple of weeks ago, and now it looks like we have iterated, we have filtered through all those maps. I think it was like 100+ maps that were filtered through, and now we have our top maps that will eventually be voted on.
Yes, we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh. 17 maps that are that can now be voted on. Wait, what?
The first line of the post says 16 finalists. Just didn't have to count them yourselves.
I had to count it
right there.
No, I had to count it myself. I had to count it myself because Team Liquid, you guys made a typo there. It's 17.
True.
I counted 17.
God. I just can't. It's 16. But
I counted 17. So
okay. But yeah, so we have our new maps. You have our new maps here for Team Liquid Map Contest number 20. Again, voting will soon open up. Until then, we have some time to go over the maps, to dissect them. Likewise, I believe soon there is going to be a Wardy TV Team Liquid Map Contest. And I believe other tournament organizers are also planning events to showcase and feature these maps as well in the lead up to the voting phase.
Yeah, we got to see a couple of them in recent online tournaments that we've had. I think it was Pig hosted a tournament recently that featured some of these maps, but yeah, not all of the finalists were played.
Yeah, exactly. And we may as well take this opportunity to go over some of these maps as well, or all of them even. Again, there's 16 in total. But the first thing that comes to my mind, Yaku, when just coming across even the first map is the return of Avex. Avex was a very prominent map maker, especially a couple of years ago at this point before he retired from StarCraft 2. But he recently came back with StarCraft Evolution. With SEL, Avex, he's very devoted to it, and just like alongside Hyper One, has been one of the players that has, one of the map makers that has been porting brutal maps over into SE2.
Yeah, Avex, he, like you were saying, very storied map maker. He's been at it for a very, very long time. There's a pretty big stretch between 2017 and I want to say 2022 or 2021, where every single season there was at least one and oftentimes two Avex maps in the map pool. So yeah, he's the map maker who created 16-bit. Just as an example, he created, I don't think he created Thunderbird, but yeah, he's somebody who was definitely looked up to during that era as, a guy who really understands how to make these, how to make macro maps that are also interesting, shall we put it that way. How to make standard maps just a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, I think I even gave a shout out to Avex. Like, he dropped by the stream one day when we were casting StarCraft Evolution, and in my mind, like, he is still like the map maker. Like, when I think of map makers in the history of StarCraft, like, I think of Avex. Like, he just had such a such a prominent role in the StarCraft scene for so long.
Yeah.
Just for some of his history, he made Blackpink.
Yep.
Backwater, Blood Boil, Fracture, Odyssey. Odyssey was also, I mean, that's when we started when we started the CranKy Ducklings. That was in
was
the
one of my
map pool.
favorite maps. Yeah.
Year Zero, Invader, like
Year
he made a
Zero
lot
was
of maps.
such a good. Not a great. It wasn't a very good map, but it led to. It wasn't a very good map to play on. Shall we put it that way? But it led to some absolutely amazing games.
hmm So he was a big part of StarCraft, and which is why it's cool to see him return again. Like he
Mhm.
recently returned a little bit to StarCraft, as I mentioned, when it comes to porting maps to StarCraft Evolution. But looks like maybe doing that in that process, he may have been once again like kind of incentivized or kind of drawn into SC2 once again.
Yep.
And yeah, really cool to see him making maps for the base SC2 game after quite some time of being retired.
You know what it was? He saw Hyper One making maps, and his
True.
it broke his brain, and he said, "No, these kids these days, I need to show them how it's done."
True. He was like, "This is the quality of maps that's making it into TLFs. What happened while I've been gone? Oh my god, this is awful." Oh no, Avex, calm down. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's he's. Oh, good.
yeah, no, it's really cool to see. Like you were saying, Avex is one of the map makers who we always assume or we kind of hold in very high regard. To me, it's always been, at least in Legacy of the Void, it's been Avex, Maras, and the Music are the three who I think of as the map makers who will always have maps in the map pool every single season.
Yeah, Mattis is another big one, 100%. But this leads us into our first map, the first map being Diffusion. Quickly going over the summaries, it's really cool to see that some of these, all these maps did have like a brief description given by the map maker themselves for the map.
Yeah, that way we don't have to be looking around all over and be like, so what am I looking at here?
What?
I know I know what I'm looking at on this particular map, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say what it is.
No.
I'm not sure if
Stop
I'm
looking
not
at
sure
the
if it's safe for
dongs.
work enough.
Oh, no. But again, a brief description from Avex, akin to the classic map remasters being made in Brood War at this time. So again, he's referencing, you know, remastering Brood War maps such as Retro, Fighting Spirit, Neo Dark Origin, and Destination. Diffusion aims to modernize the Wings of Liberty classic Daybreak and bring it up to Legacy of the Void standards. Already, that's like a really interesting approach here, is looking at older maps, which I guess he's been doing, but older Wings of Liberty maps, and trying to like revamp them for modern StarCraft. It's an interesting kind of like concept coming in.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is not a direct.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I think that was something that people kind of considered for a little while. Like, you know, what changes do we need to make in order to make some of these Brute War? If we want to take some of these Brute War-esque maps, or if we want to take some of these Brute War maps and put them into StarCraft 2, what changes do we need to make to actually, you know, make sure it's balanced? Because you know, obviously a lot of those maps are created around Brute War mechanics that don't exist in StarCraft 2. So yeah, it's been a challenge for quite a while, but yeah, it's cool to see that Avex is taking that up. And as you were saying, it's not a direct one-to-one.
Oh yeah, exactly. Considering it says it is not a direct clone or modification of the map, it has been made entirely new, sporting third bases that are actually nearby compared to its predecessor, while still fielding its wide arcs. The center has been redesigned to feature a rhombus, favoring high and low ground engagements, rather than splitting the map via a land bridge. Alternative paths that were not present in the original map and now provide additional flanking paths to be opened later. Of course, a stable rich geyser at the forward base makes its return, exposed at the edges or at the outside cliff edge. Lastly, 2 new Zeldaga towers provide vision on the outskirts of the map, but they themselves are threatened by coolant towers that can destroy them should another player wish to permanently deny the towers for the rest of the game.
Yes! Very underrated feature, IMO.
Yeah, it's go on.
I was just gonna say, if I'm gonna be blind, I need to make sure that my opponents are as blind as me.
There you go. There you go. If you remember, that's the polar opposite of what we had on Altitude, right? It wasn't too long
Mhm.
ago, like a year ago. Altitude also had a similar kind
You
of set where there were destructible towers in the center, or sorry, you had to destroy
uh,
rocks to gain access to the towers.
that's what it was. Yeah.
Hmm, hmm. So similar idea. This also reminds me. I don't know if you remember Yaku, but it was like 2 weeks ago at this point, or 3 weeks ago. The Pigastore Monday had a Wings of Liberty edition of the event, and there was a big nostalgia trip casting those games and casting those maps. But something very very clear came to mind, and that is the maps are not balanced at all.
Yeah.
There's a
No,
lot wrong with those old Wings of Liberty maps.
they
Uh,
they were like pushing it back then. A lot of because obviously this was back in the day before we really figured things out. So yeah, back then it was not very balanced, and nowadays now the game has evolved so much. Yeah, there's a reason why that design philosophy did not continue into the modern era.
Well, it almost looked like there was no design philosophy. I'll be honest when when it comes to some of those old Wings of Liberty maps. But you'd have like really open and just massive like natural
Mm,
bases, or like really exposed third bases, or like impossible to take fourth bases. You could you
well,
could tell like seeing some of these maps why
you
the games would last as short as they did, or why you would never really like expand too often, because it was just almost impossible to expand on
I
some of
mean,
these
I
maps. It
was
was like
gonna say
crazy.
this was also an era where the game was slower in the sense that there were more minerals per base and you start with fewer workers,
Mhm,
so you didn't need to
mhm.
expand so quickly like you do in the modern era, where nowadays you need to Reaper expand, Pylon expand, or what have you. Whereas back then it was yeah, you stay on one base for a while, and then once you get a like a tier one, tier two mixed army, then you get your natural base, and which is like
Mhm.
unheard of nowadays. Because you try to do
Yeah.
because if you try to defend on those maps, like you were saying, with just tier one units, with just Reaper, or with just a what does Protoss use? With just an Adept or just a Queen, you're dead. You die to the first, not even an all in, but just aggressive build that comes your way.
Yeah, but a lot of it is again because of the maps, right? Like they're not helping
Hmm.
you defend. Like they're not. It's just awful. So yeah, of course, then coming into Heart of the Swarm, like they figured out what was necessary to make a map balance, and they did kind of improve on that. But back in Wings of Liberty, it was not the case. So it was really cool to see that Avex took the initiative to try to port a Wings of Liberty map over, to try to keep some of those themes of some of those maps, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Modernized Daybreak.
Yeah, there you
That
go.
describes it.
There.
Not as pretty as Daybreak, I will say. That's my
True.
aesthetically speaking. That's my
Uh-huh.
critique. But yeah,
Uh-huh. Fair enough. Fair enough.
design wise
Uh,
and layout wise, it looks pretty interesting.
mhm, for sure. That leads us into Tokamak. That is a new map made by Volumin. Volumin.
Mhm.
Tokamak is a wide macro map with 16 bases, 2 of which are hybrid with 4 blue and 4 gold mineral patches, plus 1 Vespian gas. First expansions are relatively safe, further ones are more open. Behind the hybrid base, there are destructible towers that can be used defensively or offensively. When destroyed, they block the area behind the base, but they crush all 4 blue mineral nodes.
Ooh,
It's crazy.
you're paying money to for safety there.
Mhm. Yeah,
Or you can
that's
mine them
something that
out
we
first with mules.
yeah, that's something that we've been seeing recently is these hybrid bases were on Talisman. That's like a new map that they use. We use in our tournaments and in the Pig Store Mondays as well, and in KSL. So yeah, it's an interesting concept once again to have these like hybrid bases. They're not full gold, so they're not as greedy. They don't provide as much value. But the idea of destroying towers to destroy minerals, just to be safe, just to be secure, is a concept that we don't really. I don't think we've actually seen in a ladder map before.
Uh, I'm trying to think. I do recall there was one map. It wasn't a ladder map. Yeah, there was one in the ladder map pool. Now that I'm thinking of it, I
Mm.
was thinking of a map that we saw a little while back that was in a TLMC, I think, where you had a scenario where there were destructible rocks, where if
Mhm.
you killed it, it would destroy the Vespine geyser, or it would block off the
Oh.
Vespine geyser, or something like
Ah.
that. And Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting, but yeah, that never made it into into the ladder for obvious reasons, I think.
Yeah. That's again, it's definitely an interesting concept here that we do see from Tokamak, or sorry, from Volumin. That leads us into Maganatha by Hopper. Oh my
Yeah,
god, by a
not
prestigious map maker.
yeah, not to be confused with Hyper One. Those are totally
No.
two different people. Totally.
They are. They are different. I'm a little bit surprised I haven't edited this to fix it. By the way, it's been released for a while.
I just want to
But
say that
Maganatha.
I'm pretty sure Hyper One was asked about this, and he wanted to keep it this way.
Yes.
Hopper 2.
Keep the dram hack. Maganatha, this is actually,
Which-
I'm gonna call Hyper One out a little bit. This is an old map. I'm pretty sure he made this map
Shaganatha,
like a
yeah.
year ago.
Oh.
The Maganatha is an old map. He made it quite some time ago. I've already casted games on this map, but I guess he was holding on to it, holding off when it comes to submitting it to TLMC, maybe refining it over time. But yeah, finally was submitted to Team Liquid Map Contest.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, this map owes much of its design to the success of several previous ladder maps, including Dreamcatcher, Eastwatch, Altitude, and Altitude. Maganatha is a Mac-oriented map which emphasizes the innovative use of collapsible rock/cooling towers, henceforth simply towers, and diagonal symmetry. Key features: 2 Xel'Naga towers block all bases on the diagonal, but do not see the most direct attack paths between naturals. Zerg oppressively controls the corners on diagonally symmetric maps, thus chokes leading into bases lean, small on average. 3 large acceleration zones. Yeah, there is 3 acceleration zones like on the ends of the map as well. Reduce the
It's been a
effective
while
sides
since
on the
we
top
had
corner.
those.
True. Yeah. It's been a while. Every tower has at least 1 of 5 applications. Create tank points. Tank pushes attacking non-diagonal bases on the open terrain of this map are hopelessly impotent without them. Seals off an attack route/base. In particular, Terrance's Protoss will generally want to destroy the double towers between the triangular 3rd and 4th bases, destroy nearby Xel'Naga towers, hasten destroying rocks underneath them, or the defining feature of this map adjusts the default pathing of units on the map so that they pass through Xel'Naga tower vision.
That I feel is something that I think is something that inspiration has been taken by some of these SC Evolution maps. That I feel like there are a lot of SC Evo maps that feature destructible terrain as a way to kind of change pathing in this on the map itself. So cool to see it on a SC2 map now.
Yeah. We'll see how well Maganatha does. Again, like this is a map that we have casted on before. As mentioned, like there are a lot of destructible towers, like speed zones as well. The rush distance by ground can become short if you destroy the rocks. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting one.
I feel like the name might either help or hurt its chances in the voting.
True.
It's very similar to an older map that had a very similar name.
Yeah, it is like meant to be a parody on Jaganatha, 100%. There's definitely memes involved as well. The kind of blur piece on it was very opinionated, which I found interesting. when it comes to referring to certain races.
Yeah. I will say though, shout out to the bullet points. Okay, just a little bit more organized here. I mean,
oh yeah.
I feel like from the side of Team Liquid, when they published this, it could have had a little bit more space, but I appreciate the fact that it's not just a blob of text here.
Oh yeah. It's very, very nicely structured. Speaking of structure, not every map maker has a lot to talk about when it comes to their maps. Shout out to Steam City by Chrono XCO. We do.
Wait,
go on.
No, never mind. I was gonna say not to be confused with Steam Mold, and I was like, wait, no, that doesn't sound right. That's because it's Steel Mold.
So Steam City, standard ramped map with a low ground linear third. Center of the map has a lot of debris that create narrow alleyways. That's it.
This is the map. This is the map that everybody's gonna vote on.
I'm gonna vote on this map just for the one line of text.
Exactly. I feel like this description was designed specifically to get people to vote for it.
Hey, it's standard, all right? There's a lot of rocks. There's narrow alleyways. That's it.
Yeah, it's standard. It's what we're used to. It's what we're used to.
Yeah. We got some rocks. Okay.
Yeah,
And it's a map.
it's a map. Steam,
Okay.
you know? It's got that dust aesthetic, you know? It's got that desert dust aesthetic that was very common back in Heart of Swarm,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know? It's
Yeah.
got dirt.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
sand.
You like it?
All
You
right?
like it or you don't. All right.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
This is my map. You can. This is my map. You can play it. You can destroy the rocks or don't. I couldn't be bothered either way. Do what you want.
I love this man.
There's a Ron Swanson of map makers. Yeah.
Let's go. Okay.
Shout out
Steve,
to
you got my vote. You got my vote.
Chronozeo. Am I saying that correctly? Chronoxio? Chronoxio?
Chronoxia?
Chronoxio? Yeah, we will watch your career with great interest.
Let's go. Up next, we have Last Fantasy. Not to be confused with Final Fantasy. Totally not the same thing. By Time. You know what? I like to believe that he actually had it as Final Fantasy, like Blackpink, but for copyright reasons, I had to change the name.
I should have called it like Last Hope.
Yeah. No. Last Imagination.
Yeah. Last Daydream.
Exactly. Tournament organizers want more than 2 spawns. Players
Yes.
don't want 4 spawns. So, this is the perfect compromise to get to more than 2 spawn locations. Acceleration zones promote fast maneuvering. Distinctive features, air blockers surround the map. That's a lot of air blockers, by the way. Keeping airspace the same for all spawns. All naturals can be walled with 3 evolution chambers with no creep tumors. All mains and natural mineral lines have pockets for workers.
I never thought of it that way. 2 is too few? 4 is too many? What can we do?
It's
3.
crazy. 3.
I never thought of it that way.
That's math. Yo, looking at this map is very intriguing. So obviously, as you said, 3-player spawn map. I do appreciate the attention to making them more defendable. Like what he's referring to here is that it is a lot more straightforward to wall off the natural, and because of those pockets in the mineral lines, when it comes to defending against something like a 12 pool or a link flood, it is easy to do so, or you have the capability to do so with that kind of defensive position in your mineral lines as well. So he took into consideration like the potential of rushing and did add some defensive features to help with that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's been, I think, the major thing, the major concern, or the major thing that most players didn't like about having more than 2-player spawns is just that unpredictability. You know, if my opponent decides to go for an all-in and just so happens to be close enough, just knocking down your Funara Light's nephew for trying to sneak in here, get some opinions in. Nobody wants the opinion of nephews. That's how true we love them. Anyway. That was a major concern, was just how you can have a lot of build order wins or a lot of build order luck when it comes to these multiple spawn maps, and it's cool to see that obviously bringing back more maps that have more than 2 spawns has been something that map makers have been trying to do for a very, very long time. They've been innovating a lot when it comes to figuring out compromises for that sort of thing, and I'm glad that we're seeing a similar compromise here, or we're seeing at least one of those compromises here from Time on this map, where yes, it's multiple spawn, yes, your opponent can get lucky with an aggressive build order, but we're also going to put things into the natural base itself to help you defend against those builds.
Yeah, it's one of those things where upon casting a lot of StarCraft Evolution in SE and in SEL in StarCraft Evolution, we do feature 4-player spawn maps, 3-player spawn maps, island maps. These are things that have fallen by the wayside in SE2, and upon being reintroduced and casting on these kind of maps once again, it honestly leaves me wanting. It leaves me longing for a time where we had these kind of features once again. So I am all for reintroducing at least 3-player spawn maps. I can understand the rationale of avoiding 4-player spawn maps, but I think there is a place for 3-player spawn maps.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the best things to come out of SC Evolution. Obviously, it's a great mod. We've had great tournaments coming out of it. Very, very entertaining games. But I think one of the best things to come out of SC Evolution is its influence on StarCraft 2 itself, and specifically when it comes to map making and people being a bit more receptive now to some of the more interesting ideas and some of the more non-standard ideas that map makers have been pushing for a very, very long time.
Exactly. And right now is most likely the time where we can push for this sort of thing when it comes to moving these more unorthodox ideas into the current ladder map pool, just because nowadays there's becoming less and less restrictions over time as to what is and isn't acceptable on a map. So I feel like now would be the time where we're a little bit more, or ESL is more receptive, again, coming into potentially a new season of SE2 esports in 2025 to incorporate some of these more unorthodox maps. So I'm definitely looking forward to any potential 3-player spawn maps. I hope this isn't the only one in the finalists. I hope we got some. I hope we got some options. I don't want to just vote on the one 3-player spawn map because it's the only one. You know, I want to be able to pick and choose, but we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, we will.
Yes. Up next, we have Persephone. This is by Patches. Big shout out to Patches, of course, a fellow community member. Does work quite a lot on his own tournaments and also on these maps as well. Persephone is mostly standard map with some unique features. While the map itself is quite long, expanding to the triangle base significantly shortens the distance between yourself and your opponent due to the triangle third's proximity to the opposing side. The rocks plus small mineral wall, 5 minerals per node, serve the purpose of making the triangle easier to defend early on. The triangular fourth base is uniquely positioned to help defend the main base while being only slightly closer to the opposing side than the triangular third base. On the right side of the map, there is an acceleration zone highway leading to a gold base. The path is designed to enable armies to move quickly between the far corners of the map, adding a dynamic and strategic element. The gold base serves as a contestable late-game base that players may fight over. At the center of the map is a healing shrine paired with an air blocker, prevents air units from taking advantage of it. While the shrine offers a potential tactical advantage, its placement also exposes players to enemy attacks if caught off guard. Rock towers are positioned around the map, make it possible to close off smaller ramps, making positions easier to defend if used correctly. The rock towers can also be utilized to hinder the defender or attacker ability to rotate their army, somewhat similar to Babylon's linear third base setup. Near the center, there's also a small line of sight blocker pod breaking up the open space. This adds a little bit of spice to the otherwise open high ground, which players may utilize in various ways. For example, hiding Reapers and Hellions in TVT and surprising opposing Terran Reapers.
More than anything, I want to see Banelings burrowed under that healing zone. Banelings or Widow Mines, you have some lurkers or some tanks just a little bit off, and then you get the player parking their army there, or parking some of their high-tech units over there, like their ghosts or their hydras or their colossus or what have you, immediately bombarded. I want that more than anything.
God, I'm thinking of a map right now. I can't quite recall its name. I'm sure it'll come back to us. Seeing this massive alley on the right-hand side reminds me so much. There was a map. Was it beginning of Legacy, end of Heart of the Swarm? There was a map that was kind of like this. Was it
Terminal
for some
something?
For some reason, it's not King's Cove, but I want to say it had like some kind of royal element to it. It's not King's Cove, but it was
a King Sejong.
No, it wasn't King Sage's Station. But there was a map that I'm getting so much like nostalgia vibes from it.
Legacy,
I want to say it was Legacy of the Void. I could be wrong.
Okay, let's take a quick little look here. I'm looking at tournaments to try to get some try to look at some of the map pools that we used. Not Dust Towers.
Yeah, there's just so much to Battle of the Boardwalk. That's it.
That's it. That was actually early Legacy of the Void. Now I think about it, that was 2018 or 2017.
This was 2017 into 2018.
Yeah, there we go.
So
for some reason, I was looking at 2016.
Fair enough. But this for some reason this gives me Battle of the Boardwalk vibes, because this is also a map that also had these big alleyways that could impact the game, that also led to goal bases. So similar kind of vibe, obviously executed very differently.
Yeah, I think the key difference there was, if you're looking at it, I'm not looking at the map right now, but if I remember correctly, the alleyway was actually connected to the main base on Battle of the Boardwalk.
Yes.
There we go.
Exactly.
Okay.
was connected, which is why it was vetoed quite heavily.
Yeah, I was so disappointed. That was always my favorite thing to do on those maps. There was another map in a little bit before that in 2017 that
Mhm.
looked like it was a space station map that had something like that, and I was much lower league back then. My favorite thing to do was to just destroy the rocks and just go straight into my opponent's main bases because they had no idea that existed.
For sure, for sure. Also, quickly to production. Apparently, our cameras are not being shown at the moment. Just as a heads up.
That's probably a good thing.
Okay. Yeah, this is an interesting kind of setup here from Persephone. Honestly, I really like the idea of having like this big kind of alleyway as well with all these speed zones that are a little
Have
bit
the gang
off by the
fights,
wayside. Yeah, that won't really come into play until like a bit of a longer
And-
later game.
and-
The healing shrine is always exciting because we have yet to really see one of those in a ladder map.
And especially with the gold base in the center there, right? It's
Mhm.
actually incentivizes players to skirmish in this alleyway, to to actually try to have a presence in this alleyway.
100%. You know what?
Yeah, I was gonna say, as opposed to something like Battle on the Boardwalk, where it is a bit more of just a gimmick.
I can 100% see players like Shin, players like Hero also rushing into that gold early on. Like I can, I can see them taking it, really early and then being being aggressive with it as well. The side blocker in the natural is really interesting. It's something that we don't, or I should, so not side blocker, but the patch there in the natural is really interesting. It's something that you don't see often. Like you don't often see like these more unique features at natural bases anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I would have to actually look at this map being played on to see how that ends up coming into play, because I'm with you. I'm not sure how this will affect things. I can't even comprehend how that'll affect things. How that's gonna work here on this map.
Yeah, it's definitely going to lead to some very interesting engagements, especially early on when it comes to natural-based defense. But that's why I'm really intrigued by it, just because it's crazy that like we're talking about like a one hex like little like unbuildable terrain in the natural, but it's like, mate, that's huge.
That's absolutely huge. Like that'll affect wall placement and everything.
Yeah, it affects wall placements. It affects SimCity as well. It affects reducing surface area on certain units, like if you try to hug up against it or use it defensively with tanks as well. Like there's definitely applications to that. So it is a very interesting feature there. So shout out to Patches for Persephone. That leads us into Sandworm for Character. Character also used to play in amateur events, also a mapmaker as well. Exactly. The sets of dragon teeth across the center of this desert are Terran fortifications that are used to impede tanks and larger units while allowing small infantry units to pass freely. Destroying the large rocks adjacent to them can free up large movement. The 1,500 HP 2x2 debris is conjoined. Okay. Key features: a chicane of dragon's teeth across the middle. Yeah, allow the small infantry units to filter through while creating choke point for larger units, similar to Neo Violet Square. Two smaller sets of dragon teeth on outer ramps. Rocks on either side on the central choke can be used to bypass the choke later in the game. Two rich mineral bases blocked by 1,500 debris that allows bases to be taken on location before they can be mined. This way the bases can't be rushed, but don't have the same friction of taking them as traditional 2,000 HP rocks that block buildings. Interesting.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting map for sure. I feel like it's going to be if this map ends up making it through, it's probably going to be a bit more defensive, I have to imagine, just because as the mapmaker was pointing out, you have these sight blockers, or these little pachinko thingies in the middle that will prevent stuff like tanks or larger units from going through. But lings, marines, banelings, stuff like that, zealots would still be able to go through if you wanted to do a little bit harass or a couple of run bys. So
yeah,
this is a interesting choice here.
I'm so intrigued by this, by the dragon's teeth element here, and also by the goal bases, just because this takes a concept that we have a little bit on Neon Violet Square. The problem with Neon Violet Square is Neon Violet Square is a massive map. It's huge. Here it's less so. This looks like, maybe 2/3 of the size sort of thing. Yeah, it's much more compact. And on top of that, you have those rocks that you can knock down, so you have an alternate way to still push regardless if you still wanted to be aggressive and still wanted to commit.
Like, it's not just a smaller map, but it's also a map where that has a lot less open space, right? Neon Violet Square, I feel like, is huge and it's open. A lot of room to attack on, and the thing about Neon Violet Square is that it delays pushes, but it doesn't really deny them entirely. This map and the layout of the Dragon's Teeth, it seems, is trying to disincentivize aggressive pushing and timing attacks and stuff like that.
Yeah, at least through the center, right? At least through the center, like you can still go for like counterattacks and run-bys on the left and right-hand side. On top of that, because of the terrain in the center, that also makes it more difficult to take the gold, because you can totally set up tanks on the other side of those dragon teeth, and you can it can impact some of the engagements, some of the fights as well. So like,
if this map makes it through, that's what we're gonna do every game.
Oh, no. So there's like potential for like positional play in the center as well. Like it does not seem like a free gold whatsoever. So yeah, like I honestly I like this so much more than Neon Violet Square already. I'm not saying that this is necessarily a good map, because as you're saying, the defensive feature of this might be too much to the point where you just turtle and you just cut the map in half. But as you said, because the map is smaller here, it does incentivize earlier aggression.
Yeah, maybe if there was one fewer base, do you think, perhaps?
Maybe. I mean, it does seem a little bit wide, right? It's like, because you can.
Right.
Yeah, so potentially, I'm just thinking of maybe getting rid of the corner bases. But
yeah, the one in the top left and the bottom right.
Yeah, but I think despite that, I think it's an interesting map. You know what? I like it.
You know what? I'll vote for it.
Maybe. We're still more maps to go.
If I remember to vote, yeah.
True.
Yeah,
Up next, we have. Oh, go on.
No, I was just gonna say also the chicane. That just, once I read the word chicane of Dragon's Teeth, I want people to know that I'm thinking of how to edit the copy past that to make it about map makers.
Oh no.
He gets to be a map maker. What a sick joke.
Beautiful.
Took him into my own Discord server. I shouldn't have. He popularized. What's a feature that people hated? Slow zones.
True. Island maps. But up next, we do have from the music 246.
He'll never change. The copy pasta should be about -0.
There you go.
He'll never change. He'll never change.
Never change. But yeah, next map is called Pylon here. A high-risk, high-reward, rich gas base doubles as a mineral wall, leaving it exposed and open after mining out. Double light bridges in the center are not buildable not buildable or borrowable. Several open spaces contrast several tighter spots for a variety of engagement types.
Oh, there's a rich fast beam bases. Having trouble looking at it from the OV. Yeah, they're off to the sides near the third bases.
Oh, yeah.
By the corner bases.
Yeah. So not as many unique features. I mean, again, that base, it reminds me a little bit of oh my god, we've had so many maps over the years. But we've had some winding path maps in the past where you can attack from multiple angles or multiple sides. So an interesting kind of setup there for that expansion. Likewise, light bridges also looking quite defendable. It reminds me a little bit of what we have on Ultra Love as well. But you can actually still move out across the map while still avoiding those bridges as well, actually.
What was the map we had a couple of seasons ago? Dragon Scales, I think is what it was called. Yeah, this map reminds me a lot of that map, with just winding rush paths.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely do appreciate the aesthetic. I just realized how large the main is, by the way. That's a massive main. That's,
Oh yeah,
that's huge.
you can sneak in a
Jesus.
whole Nexus in there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you can sneak in multiple Nexuses. Jesus. I think the terrain makes it a little bit difficult for Blink Stalkers to abuse that too much, but there is still, I believe, a way in there. And
Yeah, right at the end.
yeah.
But it's
So
a
since he's
small entrance, so
true. It is small. There's actually a really I also
very
noticed the
tight
naturals
fit.
actually the natural's larger as well. There's like massive areas behind the mineral line. Mate, I can already see beyond
Ooh.
proxy racking the natural. Like you got
Proxy racks and
some prime.
natural, dunking
Uh,
down a bunker right at the ramp.
mhm.
Yeah, or right
I
behind the
can yeah.
mineral. Right behind the minerals closest to the ramp. Yeah.
There's a prime proxy locations there. Interesting, and even drop placements as well. So
Ooh,
yeah.
auto turrets, Raven Door ass can bring it back.
So interesting map there by
Liberators
the music.
will die
Coming into this,
immediately.
they will. They're going to be more exposed. That's true. That is true. That is true. Liberator's going to be more exposed.
This was a map meant
Up.
specifically to nerf my coffee build.
Oh no, not the coffee build. Not the coffee build. An interesting map. I'm curious if this is the one and only map this person has ever made. It's a map by Killer Smile called
No.
Killer Smile.
He has another one in here.
Okay. Fair enough. True.
He's
true.
made at least 2 maps.
At least two. But this is his
Yeah,
namesake.
But yeah, this one definitely caught me off guard when I first saw it. I think you casted it recently on in an event, and I remember looking at the name of the map, and I was like, "Not Smile, not Mike."
I think it might have been used in
Like
the
the rapper?
Tree tournament? Question mark.
That's what it was called, the Upper Cup.
There you go. Despite its size, the path to the opponent is very direct. However, it is compromised by having to push up through a narrow ramp, similar to Abyssal Reef. The high ground of your natural and third base share extends out into the map to a forward base, and controlling it is key to defense. The only other path from north to south leads through 2 small bridges in the very center. To make the outside bases more protected, despite their low ground positioning, players can choose to block the paths with cooling towers.
All right, interesting. Once again, a little bit more battlefield-inspired maps that will come in here, and by that I mean using destructible terrain to your advantage or to disadvantage your opponents. I'm liking that.
Yeah, I appreciate. So this does have some Abyssal Reef vibes. I'm a little bit put off by the idea of having a very narrow ramp coming into the natural, which makes it really defendable. But I appreciate there are multiple angles of attack towards the fourth and towards the third base. You can see, especially the fourth, there's 2 different ramps. Likewise, here on the third base is a ramp on the right-hand side as well, which is quite wide. So that does make them a little bit more accessible to an aggressing player, which I do appreciate. This is one of the issues with Abyssal Reef. It's very easy to get up to 5 bases on Abyssal Reef.
Yeah, also potential for flanking as well.
Yeah, so I appreciate at least that change here. Again, to kind of alleviate that more turtling style.
Yeah, I can already see it pushing in from one angle, and then as your opponent rushes to defend, you push from the other angle with reinforcements.
Yeah, so there is potential there.
Definitely a possibility.
Yeah, so already better than Abyssal. Better.
Yeah. Well, Abyssal Reef has units float. It's got that aesthetic.
True.
So,
yeah, true. Underwater.
Abyssal Reef has that going for it.
We haven't seen an underwater map yet.
Yeah.
What's going on? Where's the water at?
Yeah. They're all owned by Nestle.
Good.
They got stolen by Nestle.
There you go. That leads us into his second map, as you did mention. Killer Smile has gotten 2 maps into the top 16. As up next we have Torches. The map features a narrow low ground passage to the opponents that opens up later in the game through self-destructing Zerg rocks, allowing access to the right side gold base area. You can expand there earlier by mining through a gold mineral similar to Amphion or El Dorado. The gold bases on this map are conflict bases, and the gold minerals have a 2-tile wide gap every unit can fit through. Still, bigger armies will struggle to traverse them. On the left side, there is a secluded healing shrine.
Nice. We're getting that feature set in once again, and yeah, it's really interesting ideas. I like that the healing shrine is being implemented once again. This feels like a little bit more of a mixed map in the sense that you can be aggressive, but you have to jump through a couple of hoops in order to be aggressive. You know, you have to mine out that gold, and then you have to traverse the other gold, and then mine out another gold if you want to be hyper aggressive in that way. Unfortunately, I cannot see myself voting for this map just because of the tumors.
Oh no.
I still don't know how to play on a map that features those tumors. I gotta be honest. Amygdala is my one veto map this season, as I have no idea how to utilize those tumors to my advantage.
Fair enough. I mean, it's a really interesting map. This feels like El Dorado cranked up to 11. Just because on El Dorado, when you expand towards your opponent, there's still a Zelnaga in between, and there's still another expansion in between as well. Here, less so. I'm imagining a scenario where both players expand towards each other, and both players mine through those minerals and take that base as a third. Then suddenly you're right next to each other. And yes, there is like technically a base in between them, but as was mentioned, you can walk through it. Like there's like it's not a wall. Completely, like all units can traverse through that location. So this has a lot of aggressive potential, much more than El Dorado, which I appreciate. And again, you can just always not mine through those patches and expand horizontally instead. So definitely interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like more often than not we get scenarios where one player expands linearly and the other player expands more in a triangle. I will say though, I need to play this map against Lumia. We need to load up into it.
What's the May? That goal base is so far away. You're not gonna Gangnam, mate. It's not gonna.
But you can go through the wall.
True. I mean, that makes it more difficult to Gangnam to you because you could just go die. Oh no. But yeah, interesting concept. When it comes to like the like both side bases, right? Because there's gases on both sides. So like this is like a base that can be taken by either player. Like it's crazy.
Or
I don't think we've seen that before.
It's supposed to take both players are supposed to take it, you know?
I don't think we've seen that before. Because like on Dynasty, we've seen players expand on the other side of the wall, yes, but only one side has gas. Here, both sides have gas. So it's like it's double sided.
Yeah. Like tape.
True. That leads us here towards oh god.
Sangria.
Selaginella. There we go. Selaginella. By Avix. Yeah, second map by Avix. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't bunch them together, like the maps made by the same creators.
But you gotta space them out, Otherwise they'll get too powerful.
And this map features an in-base natural and a third base natural with multiple entrances. 2 entrances will be opened by the death of an infested rock. This is also the tumor that's dying over time. At around 8 minutes. This is the same as Amygdala. At Amygdala, the destructible tumor dies at 7:57, at around 7:56, around that time.
Well, unless you spread creep onto it as a third player.
True. One such entrance will open a back door to a 4th base behind the 3rd, and the other opens a small path out to the rest of the map, which may be closed by a rock tower.
Also, you got pocket base.
Yeah.
It's been a while since you had pocket base maps.
There's a lot going on here. That's what I will say. We have a pocket base. We have like a pseudo second pocket base as well, kind of. But you also can destroy the tumor to gain access to that location as well. Yeah.
Your natural is so exposed. Yeah. Or is it? No, your natural is a pseudo pocket.
Yeah.
Placement.
Yeah. So.
And it will become exposed over time, but.
Yeah, it will become exposed. You can expand towards the right-hand side. Like that base is very well secure. the base like top right or
Bottom left.
bottom left. Yeah. When it does open up. This is one of the more unorthodox maps we've seen, I think.
Yeah,
Like,
it does have a lot of the like bells and whistles that a lot of the other maps have, like things like the destructible rocks destroying resources or the healing shrines, or not even speed zones, but just the layout itself. This is okay. I'll vote for it.
this is one of the weirder ones, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but like I appreciate it as well. I appreciate how different it is. It's just so starkly different to any other map we've seen so far, layout wise. I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. That leads us into Antimatter, also by the Music 246. So this is his second map. We got a Shazam logo in the middle.
Okay, I'm voting for this map.
Start the game with a choice of forward natural or pocket natural, another pocket base, with a mineral wall that can be opened up. Goal bases sit on the sides of the map, rocked off, with an inhibitor zone, making them high risk, high reward opportunities.
Yeah, rocked off because it's walled off with rocks. So
true.
Combine the two words together, and also because you have the amps and the lightning, so it's like rock and roll.
Exactly.
Rocked off. You're gonna have a rock off. In the middle there, you just have the units dancing in the middle there.
No.
There better be some Ewoks on this map just jamming.
So this is, I guess, a little bit similar to Razza Station when it comes to the pocket base being accessible by those minerals. But if you remember on Razza Station, there were also rocks as well. Like it was like double layered like defense.
I don't remember Rat House because it was vetoed by a lot of players.
Oh yeah, it was. Thank God.
I don't remember that map well now that you mention it.
Fair enough. But this isn't, thankfully, the extremities of like defending that pocket base isn't as much here. So just 2 layers of minerals, but a pocket base nonetheless. Yeah, the gold is an interesting one. It's on the low ground as well, so it is a lot more of an exposed expansion.
Yeah, true.
Is that a slow zone?
No, that's not a slow zone. Wait, that's a slow zone. Yeah, by the rocks. Okay. Or is it? Or is that an illusion?
I don't know.
It rocked off with an inhibitor zone.
Yeah, it's I guess inhibitor zone, slow zone. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, slow zone. So it's not a slow zone, it's an inhibitor zone.
That's like double layer of protection. You've walled it off with rocks and with the slow zone as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's advice. People out there.
Yeah.
Double protect yourself.
It's interesting that's something that we haven't had in a while. In general, like I think you brought up like speed zones and likewise slow zones as well. Like we had them for like a season or 2 and we haven't had them for a while. So it would be interesting to bring them back in one of these maps. It would be interesting.
Yeah. I think part of that is because motherships now can shoot slow zones, so
They can.
Been on the receiving end of that quite a bit.
Oh no. Up next we have Incorporeal by Monitor. A central Zanaga tower splits 2 central high ground pods. Gaining control of the tower provides vision of the primary attack paths, with only the outer paths out of vision range. Collapsible rocks block off strategic pathways. 2 center mineral-only expansions contain 10 blue minerals. Corner expansions can be walled with collapsible rocks, becoming semi-island bases.
An island base. There we go.
Kind of.
Semi, but look. What is a semi if not a dem? Right.
Okay. Sorry. I was the entire time I was looking for the Zonaga. I was like, where is that? It's like dead center
in the middle.
map.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool. That means that you can take control of the Zonaga from both sides. Like you can contest it. But you don't have like a ground-based way through it. I should say.
Yeah.
Like it walls itself up.
Oh, do you have to drop onto it?
No, I mean like to move on to the other side. So like melee units, they would just have stare at each other. They would...
Oh, I did that. I was picturing more of I send 1 Marine My opponent sends
Mhm.
2 Marines. I
Ah,
send
there
3 Marines. My opponent sends 4 Marines.
Oh no. But yeah, this is on the larger side. It's a much larger map. As you mentioned, pseudo island map. This does feature something that we see in some of the StarCraft Evolution maps, where you can destroy rocks and just completely wall yourself in. This is a little bit different though, because on I believe in StarCraft Evolution, I'm referring to Troy. On Troy, you destroy rocks which exposes assimilators, and that's permanent. Like the assimilators, they permanently wall the area off. Here, I'm pretty sure you can knock down the towers and you can still destroy the rocks as well, so you can still open it up.
Yep. Yeah, you're not locked in. It's not permanent. You don't need to make that much of a commitment.
Mhm.
There's a way out.
Yeah. It's a way out. What I find interesting here, the small little alcove. Do you see at the triangular third? There's like a massive area
Yeah,
here
there's
that
like a little. It's like a
it's like
little.
it's like proxy
peeking out.
Stargate
Yeah.
here. It's like like it's just
It,
like to me, like as
it
someone that watches a lot of StarCraft, this just screams, "Oh, this is where you proxy." It's like, oh, okay,
exactly.
I see.
This is like if you had excavators or something, or some kind of building, and you were mining out a
Mhm.
cave, and then you mined out the area you needed to, but then one guy just didn't get the memo and just kept going.
Yeah, pretty much. But that is like a prime proxy, like Stargate or Starport for like a Hellion drop into the main. Maybe too obvious, right? Because it screams like, oh, proxy
Well,
here, so maybe it won't be used. But
it's so obvious that people won't expect it.
true, exactly. But it does feel like that's the only purpose that area was made.
Well, you could.
uh,
No,
yeah,
that's a terrible idea. I was gonna say you could, if you were being attacked, you could evacuate your workers there, but then that's just attack here. Like
yeah.
plant tanks or plant lurkers on the top,
Mhm,
on the high ground, and then just
mhm.
watch them rip away at those workers that have just
Yeah,
evacuated.
there's no way out of there. Is the thing. It's
Yeah.
just yeah. That leads us into the grid. The third map by the Music 243. Uh,
Yeah.
the grid. When ground units travel
Very.
inside the exhaust fence, they block vision of the outside terrain, acting as the inverse of line sight blockers. The map has 5 levels,
It.
all consecutively going lower down the map. Welcome to the grid.
Oh. That's an interesting
Yo.
twist on it. I was gonna say that this map reminds me a little bit of Year Zero
Yeah.
with its spawn layouts, but yeah, the fact that as you go further south, the elevation also goes down.
Mhm.
Would you ever want to expand downwards? Is my question. Yeah, I guess eventually you have to, right? If the game
Hmm.
goes on long enough, you would have to.
This reminds me of
Interesting.
oh god, we've had so many maps. This reminds me of from like recently, like maybe 2 years ago, we had a map that had a similar visual aesthetic.
Simulacrum.
That is it simulacrum? No,
It might not
that's not
be.
what I was thinking of. But sure, I understand. I understand.
In and or out.
No, more modern than that. More modern. Like again, like from recent
Oh,
years.
like 2 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, it had a goal base towards the south, and it had a shorter rush distance spike round horizontally. Um, we casted, I think we casted like Solar beat Cyril on it at one point. So I think I think it was featured
WTL?
in WTL. Yeah.
WTL season 5. Go back a little bit here. Basilisk versus Onside in the finals. Map pool. No, wasn't this one. Okay, maybe go back a little bit. DPG versus Kaiser Gaming in the finals.
Mhm.
Not Stargazers, not Inside and Out. Not Neo Humanity. Not Gresfan. Not Data C. Not Moondance. Maybe Moondance. I don't think it was Moondance. just looking through
no minions.
WTL.
All good, all good.
Light shade? No, not light
Yeah.
shade. Oxide? No, not oxide.
Yeah, it reminds me of a recent map that we had in the map pool.
2 years ago, you said?
I want to say, but maybe
I have
it
to
was.
remind myself that 2 years ago was 2023 and not
Yeah,
2021.
yeah. Maybe it was earlier than that. Jesus.
Was it like a checkered? It was like a black and white map, right? That you're thinking of?
Yeah.
It's checkered. I think I think I can visualize it in my head, but I don't remember the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 2019-ish.
Oh, it wouldn't have been that long ago. That would have been crazy. We weren't casting WTL then.
2020, 2021, 2022 at least, maybe.
Yeah, at least 2022.
Not
But
newer,
regardless,
let's see.
yeah, it's definitely a really interesting map. Just because of the short rushes by ground, the goal base as well that you can fight over, short rushes by air as well.
Golden Wall?
Not Golden Wall.
Golden Wall was around for a long time, so you know that's
True.
where my mind goes to.
Mm-hmm. All good. But yeah. So definitely interesting when it comes to the layers. As you mentioned, like I don't know if we're ever gonna see player like late game on this map. Like it's really cool to see all these layers and all these southern bases, but like I get the same vibe. I don't know if we're ever gonna see players take those southern bases. Like that feels ambitious.
Yeah. Well, if the game goes on long enough.
Yeah, I don't know if it will though. That's the thing. Like I don't. Yeah, it's crazy. Just because of how because of how the smaller map is. But like it's potentially could be.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see though.
Mm-hmm.
I really think it was Simulacrum.
I don't think it was. There's no goal based on Simulacrum. What are you
There
talking
isn't,
about?
but you were saying that aesthetically speaking.
Uh-huh. I'll look into it. I'll get back to you next week. But that leads us into our next map. That leads us into Spirit Crusher by Time. Is this the second map as well?
map? Yeah, Time earlier on entered Last Fantasy. So
There you go. But we did have Spirit Crusher, a diagonally symmetrical map with many choices for expansion patterns, distinctive features, line of sight blockers just outside the main path for great ambush potential.
that was 2 paragraphs.
2 sentences. How dare he?
2
How dare
sentences,
he?
1 sentence per paragraph.
Yes, that's too much. I'm afraid. That's
Yeah. Gotta keep it all in one, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is one of the more normal, or one of the yeah, I think one of the more normal maps that we're getting this TLMC. It is a rush map, and as Timmy himself pointed out, there are line of sight blockers for ambush potential, but I think there's a reason why he didn't really go in depth into describing this map, because I mean, you can look at it. It's not something that's it's something that we're used to.
Yeah, there's not as much going on here as on other maps when it comes to like the unique features or Naga, speed zone, slow zone, goal base.
Which is why this map is probably gonna make it through into the next map.
True. Everyone's gonna vote on it. True.
You know what, Timmy? I like this strategy from him. He has this map, Spirit Crusher, and then he also has Last Fantasy, which is a very ambitious map, right? So you have one that's like the one that you really want to get through, the one that you really like, really innovative, really work on, and then you have a safety map. That way, you have a good chance of winning at least something there. I like it. Good strategy, Timmy.
There you go. You'd love to see it. That leads us into the final map by Volumin. I think this is his 3rd map, I want to say. Like he's also gotten
I think it's the 2nd by Volumin.
Okay.
The music has had 3 maps here.
So second map by Volumen is going to be Kill Switch, 16 base rush / standard map with a unique layout. In the main base, there's access to a Zelnaga tower that is blocked by mineral patches and rocks. Next to the tower, there's a back door to the main blocked by minerals. There's also a second ramp to the natural. Slow zones in the middle can be destroyed. Oh.
Did I read that correctly? In the main base, you have the Zelnaga tower?
You have the Zelnaga in the main.
Base.
In the
What's
main.
the point of that?
That's crazy.
Oh, well, I see what the point of that is. That's a massive main.
Well,
and you have that gold pathway? Huh.
So hold on. So you have the gold pathway. Basically, you expand northwards, or assuming we're looking at the base on the left. You expand northwards. You're natural. You take your third base up here as well. So you expand towards the northern side of the map.
Yeah, and then your fourth base, you take it towards the southern side, and you might not let gold.
You could take these as your fourth and fifth base. And I guess the Zelnaga would help when it comes to drop play, 100% in the mid game, right?
Absolutely,
100%.
Yeah.
Like when you're on 3 bases, taking the Zelnaga will potentially. I don't think you get to see the edge of the left-hand side, but you at least get to see most of the southern area. Likewise, the slow zones also deter drop play on the right. So there's still an opening here that isn't covered by the Zelnaga, but this is a very unique feature.
Yeah, this saddens me because it means that I won't be able to drop the third, pick up, and then drop the main, which I like to do as a Terran player, but yeah, this is... It feels like such a simple change that's going to have so many massive implications as to how games play out on this map.
For sure.
I think I like this from a viewer perspective. If I were voting purely as a player, I would not vote for this map because, like I said, I like being able to drop the third and then pick it up and going into the main. But as a viewer, this map excites me quite a bit. I want to see players utilize that Zelnaga in the main base itself.
Yeah, there's potential for that. I find it interesting that you can destroy the slow zones. Like that we haven't seen that before. Like destructible Zelnaga, sure, but destructible.
That part. Holy yeah.
Yeah. In the middle, you can knock the tower down and destroy the slow zone, and then destroy the rocks.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a factor.
Very battlefield.
Likewise, there's a destructible tower at your natural base. There's also a tower that you can knock down there. So yeah, there's a lot going on here, and again, like you can take the fourth and fifth towards the south side, or you can just ignore it and just expand towards the top side instead, and just save those bases for later on. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Very interesting indeed. Side note: aesthetically, I like this map because I don't know if you've noticed this, Light. The lines are purple and orange, and those are my team colors.
There you go.
I set my opponent to orange. I play purple.
Did Volumen do? Hold on. What's this other map? Hold on. The other map was Tokamak.
Oh, right. All the way at the top. Tokamak.
Yeah. Not as much. So I was curious. So for Kill Switch, he had, similarly to one of the previous maps, look at how large that area is behind the natural mineral line. Like that is huge. you can fit a CC back there. Like unironically, I think that's the biggest area behind the natural mineral line I've seen before. But as you were kind of mentioning, like that is designed to punish not just liberators, but to punish banshees as well, because it just means that there's more room for the queen to chase. Or, for example, or any kind of ground army, queen, stalker, marine. Like if a banshee goes into the mineral line, the banshee is deep in the base, Cyclone, so you can punish it that much harder. Yeah, cyclone, like whatever you have, ground base. So it's much more defendable as a result. Like sure, it's vulnerable to like a tank drop, for example, to like drop play, but at the same time, is more defendable against like other like harass. Even like marine drops in here, or like raven harass. Like the raven, it's so common for the raven to dip in and dip out, but here you have to commit so much harder to harass the mineral line.
Yeah, or commit or just double down, right? Go into the main from the north and then go into the natural, pivot to the natural from there, and then hope that you can escape to the third and then make it all the way back home.
And even the main, if you notice, there's no dead space behind the main base. Like there is dead space
True.
on the sides, but like right behind the main mineral line, it's also very large and no dead space at all. Mate, this is
I
very
appreciate this
defendable.
so much. I appreciate this so much. I gotta tell you.
Oh my god, this is like you better not harass me at all because if you try, you're gonna lose everything. Like this
Well,
is
I'm still
crazy.
gonna coffee on this map if I play
Okay.
TVT, and it's still gonna work. I can guarantee
no.
you that much. But
Mhm.
I
Even the linear-
appreciate this as someone who
Even the
sucks
linear
at,
third is the
keeping
same.
track of
Mhm.
keeping track of air units coming into my bases.
Yeah. Even the linear third is similar, not as drastic, but also has a really large area behind the mineral line. So like it's all to make it easier to defend. Or I say easier. It's all to punish like drop play and punish like harassment.
Airbase harass, yeah.
Yeah. Like in our current map pool, and even before that, we've never had like this extreme.
Oracles could get punished
Mhm.
really hard, yeah.
Yeah, oracles, mutas as well. Like there's, yeah. This is the reason why I'm just bringing this up is that this is the most extreme that I've seen for all three bases. It's crazy. I feel like it should have been brought up in the blurb, but like I feel like it's worth.
I feel like it was intentionally omitted
yeah,
from the
yeah.
blurb. You know?
It's like he snuck it in and didn't say anything, hoping no one would notice, just so he can just so we can turtle up whenever he plays, and just so we can like see like a bunch of like ravens and banshees and oracles die. But I feel like it's worth having like a sentence on, I feel like what's going on? But yeah, with that, that's the final map. That's the final map here.
Yep. Nope.
For the TLMC. 16 maps.
Yep, those are 17 maps. I counted 17. Those are 17 maps that we have here in the finalists, and of course, top 5. The creators for the top 5 maps will end up getting paid out. It's going to be a mix of public voting as well as a. Oh yeah, no, actually, it's only public voting. Yeah. I don't know why I was under the impression that there were 2 rounds where one is public and one is the Liquipedia or the Team Liquid editors, but no, it's just entirely public voting to show a little bit of appreciation to the map makers from the community itself. As always with every TLMC, it's important to keep in mind that just because a map gets voted highly, just because it wins first prize and it's voted unanimously by the community, doesn't mean it's going to make it to the next competitive map pool or the ladder map pool. ESL kind of has its own way criteria and way of judging and determining which maps go into the map pool from there. But yeah.
For sure. And when it comes to these maps, I know we just went over them, but reality is that we won't really get a better idea until we see them played, until we see players actually compete on them to get a better idea. That is why these tournaments are going to be so important when it comes to the WarTV TLMC event. When it comes to, I know Pig is planning an event. I'm sure Dave and Chickenman are planning an event. I'm sure they're willing to incorporate some of these maps into their tournament map pools as well. So the more experience we get on these maps, the better idea we have on what we want to vote on and what we like and what we don't. Also, I found the map that I was referring to, by the way. It was from last year, 2023 into 2024. Equilibrium is what I was thinking of.
That does not look similar at all.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Does not look similar at all, aesthetic-wise.
What map were we going over?
It was
the grid.
Grid. Yeah, the grid.
Yeah, the grid. What do you mean?
Not look similar at all. Where's the blue?
It's there.
Where's the blue? It's a lot of gray. So much gray on this map. That's not gray on the grid. That's white. It's white. It's black. It's blue. Equilibrium. It's just gray throughout.
You sound like Steel Mole when he's looking for the chrome in Ice and Chrome. Where's the chrome? What's going on? I see the ice. Give me the chrome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where's the blue?
That's the map I was thinking of.
You know what it is? It's equilibrium. It's equilibrium. It's got the white. It's got the black. It turns gray. The grid. It's a grid. It separates the white and the black, and has a little bit of blue in the center.
There you go.
Equilibrium. They all melded together.
But yes. Do get ready for. do get ready for the TLMC events, get ready for the voting as well. I think I have an idea of what I want to vote on, but I'll be honest, there were a lot of really fun maps here and a lot of really interesting ones. Like maps that stand out to me are like Sandworm from Character, maps like even Selaganila, Organilla. Even that's gonna be I'm gonna have to get that one down
Dude,
if we're gonna be casting on that one.
well, that's the thing, right? Is you have to keep in mind the names of the maps because if some of them do end up making it to the ladder map pool,
True.
you have to you have to be careful what you've
Mhm.
done to yourself there.
One critique that I have actually, Persephone is another one that stands out to me. One critique that I have, I was worried about it. Last Fantasy is the only 3-player map in the top 60. That's it. That's all it is.
Yep. And from what I can see, looking through things, there is a lot of enthusiasm for it, but it's interesting that's the only one here.
That's the problem. Is that like, oh, you guys won 3-player maps here? There's one in the round 16. It's like, well, so we only have one option if we want one. Like, what? it would have been nice if there were at least 3. I would have loved to see like 2 maybe, or ideally 3, just so there's a little bit more options when it comes to picking a 3rd-player spawn map. It does feel like if that's something that you want, you're kind of forced into one option, which is less than ideal.
Yeah.
But with that, that does wrap up our coverage of the TLMC finalists. And now we have our next bit of news here.
Right.
Up next, we do have some news regarding CranKy Gaming.
Yes, CranKy Gaming / Weibo Gaming. I gotta admit, Light, I feel like I've activated the monkey's paw because I feel like for close to a year now, I've always been saying Weibo Gaming, dumb name. They should get rid of that. They should no longer be called Weibo Gaming. They should go back to CranKy, DKZ or DKG, stuff like that. And I got my wish, but it came with consequences. Weibo Gaming has disbanded its StarCraft 2 division, and by that they mean CranKy Gaming, or rather I should say CranKy Gaming has disbanded as a result of Weibo Gaming letting them go, ending their partnership.
Yeah. So that partnership has concluded. It is really sad to see, considering I mean, that's Hero's team, right? Hero right now he's hot stuff. Like Hero, he is winning tournaments. He is one of the best Protoss players in the world right now. He's top 2 alongside Max. He's number 1 when it comes to offline events. Like Hero, even last week we mentioned he won 3 tournaments. He won 3 Open Cups. Like he is very much so in form. He's beating Clem. He's trading back and forth. So to see his team step away, I mean the team in general step away, but also, as a result, Hero become a free agent is definitely a sad sight here. And it's sad to see DKZ leave just because they've been around for so long in different forms and different iterations, of course, but they've been around for a long time.
Yeah, for those who weren't around too long, they initially started off as KZ Gaming. That was, the team that was very much formed around Oliveira. The investors and the team managers just were really interested in getting Oliveira on their team. And then from there, they picked up a couple of other players. On the other side, different investors formed Dragon Phoenix Gaming, which actually have a little bit here. That was Rogue's team for a very long while. Also, Hero actually. I was mixing it up with Triumphant Song Gaming, TSG, which some players were on for a while. But Hero and Dark were also on Dragon Phoenix Gaming. Then in 2023, I believe it was, they merged with the 2 teams merged. CranKy Gaming, the other players on there were Innovation for a while, Bunny for a while, and towards the end, Spirit and Raynor were on it as well. And then after a while, they merged with Dragon Phoenix Gaming to become CranKy Gaming. Honestly, one of the coolest logos in StarCraft 2. We had the dragon and the lightning bolt coming in there. Really cool stuff. And then just last year, in the lead up to the esports World Cup, they were picked up by Weibo, the company Weibo, to become Weibo Gaming, similar to how On-Site Gaming merged with Team Vitality, that kind of thing. But we've had some major retirements from Weibo Gaming. Obviously, Oliveira is the big name, but also Sue. Both of them have left, and because of that, I feel like, in addition to uncertainty to the future of the StarCraft 2 competitive circuit, and what's been going to be going on, it looks like Weibo Gaming has decided that it's not a safe enough investment anymore, and so they will be disbanding the StarCraft 2 team.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I do think a big part of that, they do mention EWC and ESL and the delay on the announcements. I mean, that coincides with Oliveira leaving. I'm sure that's a big part of it, right? Like, as you mentioned, like KyZ Gaming, a big part of it was supporting Oliveira. He's a world champion. He's the best player in China. They're a Chinese team. With Oliveira retiring...
Even way before that, they were like really invested in Oliveira because they were... watching him play, watching him improve, and also a little bit was because some of them knew Oliveira personally and were like, "Yo, do you think that this is a good idea?" And Oliveira kind of convinced them to not only sign him, but also sign a bunch of other players who he thought needed some support at the time. Innovation Bunny being the big ones, and then of course later Spirit and Raynor. But yeah, it was a team that revolved very much around Oliveira during its initial inception.
For sure. So I would imagine that Oliveira retiring probably played a big factor into their decision to also disband as well, right? Like, sure, like Hero is on their team and Hero is one of the best players in the world right now, but at the same time, really Hero, and they don't necessarily have, I'm sure, the biggest connection with him.
And also, Hero was from DPG, so. Now that you mentioned it, after Oliveira left, none of the original KyZ players were on Weibo Gaming anymore. Like Raynor is on Basilisk, Spirit left, he was on Psystorm for a while, and then later Navi, and then later a free agent. Innovation's obviously retired, Bunny's now on Team Falcons, so yeah, for the longest, Solar, obviously he left, he joined Onside, later Vitality, and then now Falcons, so yeah, really, I don't know, just something that my brain kind of took note of for some reason.
Yeah. So with that, DKZ, they have disbanded. It is definitely sad news. It does mean that Hero is now a free agent, and there is now potential for another pickup. What I mean by that, if you remember, Team Vitality, they were looking for a player. We were theorizing a Protoss. If you remember, we're thinking of Classic, we were thinking of Creator. Yeah, Classic and Creator, they came to mind. Zaun as well, of course, right? But now suddenly, Hero is also an option.
True. And it's possible that Vitality might have heard this news before us. It's possible that Weibo Gaming might have, internally said some things, and that Vitality might have picked up on. So maybe they are targeting. I also know that the owner of Team Vitality has a lot of money. Like, enough money to sign Maru for 2 more years, despite not knowing whether or not this thing is going to continue. So, maybe. I gotta say as well, I feel a little bit for Solar, man. If he leaves Team Vitality, he gets replaced by Hero, his nemesis this past week.
No. The villain arc
continues, man.
The peak villain arc.
To be fair, Solar's doing all right over, and I'm sure Solar's not bleeding out. Like, he's not wanting for salary or anything like that over on Team Falcons. They pay their players pretty well from what I've heard, but still, that's oof.
I mean, that's the thing though. Like, when I think of Team Vitality, like they clearly, like, they want to invest and they want the best, right? They want the best players, and hey, they have Maru, right? Like, you don't get better than that in Korea when it comes to Terran. So, approaching a player like Hero, in my mind, would make sense. It would make sense for them to have the ability to do that. So he is potentially another pickup. I say that, I'm sure for other big teams that are interested, especially if EWC is announced and confirms, mate, Hero's inbox is going to be full. Like, if, especially obviously, like,
Navi,
like if EWC gets announced, and if they have the same bonuses and benefits for benefiting teams if they're in different esports, like 100% Hero is one to jump on, like, for sure.
Yeah, you know what would be funny? If Weibo just signs Hero for EWC again, and lets him go at the end of it.
They might do it. They might do it, unironically.
Because I'm now looking up, like, okay, what are the big esports teams? And that's not really, that's like too broad in general. So I'm like, okay, let's break it down by region. What are the big Chinese esports teams? Weibo Gaming pops up there again.
Yeah, like it's definitely going to be like a rush to pick up SC2 players if we have that same incentive structure in EWC. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on everyone for certain.
Yeah, Fnatic. That's well, Fnatic used to have a StarCraft 2 division.
Yeah, they do.
So, yeah. Genji already has Trapped, so I'm sure they're happy with that.
Yeah,
Saint Germain is lacking when it comes to RTS, so maybe.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on Hero. We'll see if any team decides to try to pick him up early, which again I feel like is well worth it. Like again, he is literally like best Protoss in offline, like best Protoss for EWC because MaxFax isn't going to be there. So like that, there's definitely value in that kind of pickup. Again, if there is going to be another circuit of EWC. So yeah, with that, I'm sure Hero will find a new home. I'm sure he doesn't have too much to stress about. But that is something that is available.
Yeah. I wanna just point out, because I was looking at, okay, one of the biggest Chinese esports teams. One of them is called Top Esports. That's a name. It looks like they focus mainly on League of Legends and some of the mobile games there. One of them I actually recognize that I actually have always liked the name of. It's called Royal Never Give Up, RNG.
Okay, interesting.
Great name over there. And yeah, a lot of the ones are pretty normal. You got Billy Gaming. Billy has their own roster.
Oh, okay.
LGD,
that's cool.
Stuff like that, yeah.
For sure. With that, speaking of the ending of, or the disbandment or ending of events, with the disbandment of DKZ, we also have the dissolution of the Magikarp Masters Cup. This is an amateur league, an amateur event that has been running for many years alongside the Masters Swan Open. We've always thought of it as a sister league for amateur events. It is a league, a tournament series that is limited to players of 4.9k and below. Unfortunately, despite it running for so many years, it looks like they have decided to bring it to an end.
Yeah. It is unfortunate. Obviously, this is a little bit more of a, like you were saying, an amateur, maybe semi-pro at times event. So it's not really something related to EWC or the EPT circuit. As Captain Canuck puts it here, it's just there are different priorities now that all the organizers are focusing on, and things that also require money in their lives. So yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense economically for them to continue the Magikarp Masters.
Yeah, it's definitely is really sad to see, just because it's been around for so long, and we can definitely empathize, right? It's like even for our events, like Duckling Open and Masters Swan Open, they used to be more regular. They used to be like weeklies or bi-weeklies. Nowadays they're monthly. Again, like we have our own kind of priorities, or we do have other things that do take up our time, so it's hard to really find some time for this. But yeah, it's a little bit sad to see, Go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I can definitely empathize with getting old. Aging.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, shout out to those that work behind the scenes for the event. He was giving praises to E Legacy, to Little Mac, Grumpy Gills, of course, Captain Canuck himself, who has been casting and streaming and running it for such a long time as well. Papa Panda, Xenodactyl, a lot of these people that he's mentioning are also people that have, of course, been a part of the CranKy Ducklings when it comes to our amateur events as well. So yeah, they've been around for many years alongside them, and had made for a solid legacy of over 100 tournaments of Magikarp Masters.
Whew. That's a lot.
It is. It's more than we have MSOs. True.
Yeah.
As they've been running on a consistent bi-weekly basis. So big shout to Captain Canuck, and this is maybe an event that maybe many people haven't heard of before, but it's near and dear to our hearts. It's very close to home, as we do have a similar initiative on the CranKy Ducklings. So best of luck to Captain Canuck and everyone else when it comes to what they're going to be focusing on now. It is sad to see it go, but hope they have a great kind of send-off, and yeah, maybe we can see more of them in other ways in StarCraft and other aspects in the future.
Yeah. Canuck Cup.
For sure. That leads us into our next update, something a little bit more upbeat. This is not a dismemberment. This is more of a way to continue funding events. We did get an update for the Monday Night Weeklies. For those who don't know what this is an event that is organized and run by TKL. TKL is a big part of the French community, and this is basically the weekly European Monday event. I think a lot of people they assume that Rotterdam is behind this because if you remember the KFC, like Steadfast, Roddy, and Kalaris, they did host their version of this initially, but that came to an end. TKL stepped up after like a month or something of not having European weeklies. He stepped up. He's been hosting this. He's been running this, but he needs your support. And as a result, he has opened up a Ko-Fi, which is similar to Patreon, to help fund the tournament.
Is that how it's pronounced? I'm saying it wrong.
Oh,
this
coffee.
entire
Sorry,
time.
coffee. Yeah, coffee. It is a coffee cup. So
Ko-Fi,
coffee.
Ko-Fi makes.
I like Ko-Fi because
Lo-fi
like
makes
lo-fi,
sense,
like-
yeah, because based on the spelling there, because it is like lo-fi. Yeah. It is. All right, well, until further notice, I'm gonna call it Ko-Fi now. I used to call it coffee, but call it Ko-Fi now because it. Until further information now, but set up a Ko-Fi for this and has been able to, as you were saying, has been able to secure funding for until March the 10th at the very least, and so this. Ko-Fi is to fund further iterations of the Monday Night Weekly.
Mhm. Exactly. So if you enjoy the Monday night European weeklies, then do support the event over on Coffee or Ko-Fi. Again, big shout to TKL for taking the initiative for running this event. Again, there was a period in time where we had no European weeklies, and then TKL, he stepped up, he stepped in, and he did take the initiative to run this. Not easy to do whatsoever. I know that we don't really give too much attention to it here on this channel because we don't cast it, but we always do bring it up, and we always do cover it when it comes to the PondCast, and we always do support these more grassroots initiatives by other organizers.
Yeah, really important to have in the scene. You can't have everything be you can't have everything be run at the top because if suddenly they pull out,
I would like to.
media has to scramble.
I would like to point out that according to the coffee page, the Monday Night Weekly 9 seems to already be funded.
Oh, there we go.
When the post was
Yeah,
being made, it was like halfway
161%.
through.
So there's going to be that page to fund those events. That leads us into our final bit of news here. That leads us into the OGN coming out and releasing AI upscaled VODs of their old broadcasts from 1999 up to 2012.
Yes, it feels like it was something in the works for quite a while. It's just a lot of history there. A lot of really exciting games from the kind of Brute War era that honestly are unwatchable on modern screens. But yeah, thanks to the power of technology, OGN has figured out a way to utilize that AI upscaling and to just post them on their YouTube channel.
Yeah, exactly. So do check it out. Now they basically, in a way, remastered a bunch of old matches and a bunch of old videos of Brood War matches from years gone by. So it's great to see that they have taken that initiative. And yeah, it honestly doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too bad whatsoever. I think we had a brief discussion on it previously, and I did actually quickly sift through some of these videos, and it is definitely noticeably smooth at times. I did notice that. But overall, it is still a better experience than what it once was.
Yeah, there was one that it wasn't an OGN or a Brute War match, but I was in the pre-show of telling Kura about this, that I did see somebody who used the same or at least a similar upscaling program for 2011 Blizzard Cup. And let me tell you, it's a pretty big improvement compared to the one that most people have watched on YouTube previously. At least when it comes to the clarity in game and stuff like that.
Exactly.
It's a little bit jarring out of game because I'm like, I'm pretty sure your face isn't this smooth, I'm pretty sure there will be more creases and whatnot, but yeah, in game itself, it's actually watchable compared to the previous GOM TV. Compared to the previous GOM TV low res VOD that was out.
Yeah. So it's really cool that AI is being used in such a way. It's definitely a positive way that it can impact older videos of esports from years
Yeah.
gone by that are visually, lower
Hmm.
resolution. So it's just a way to try to fix that. Of course, this is something that's most likely going to get better over time. So
Hmm.
maybe this wouldn't be the first time that we even see kind of like a remastering in such a way. But yeah, it's just really cool to see that
Yeah.
they're doing that, and there's of course interest
It,
in watching some of these VODs once again.
I'm just glad to see AI being used for what it's actually meant to be used for
Hmm.
once.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a really cool initiative. So shout out to OGN for doing this, and it's possible that we might see other big companies do this in the future as well for some of their older content, just to revitalize it and just get eyes on it once again.
Yeah. Because, oh man, some of these games. I can't speak too much for the Brute War era because I've never been somebody who watched a lot of Brute War esports. But again, thinking of like the Golem TV era and Wings of Liberty, some very exciting, very hyped games that I feel like a lot of newcomers not only don't know about, but when they try to look into it and try to watch it in the past, it's just very hard to keep track of because our modern day screens aren't. It wasn't meant for the screens that we have nowadays.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So it can be harder to enjoy, but thankfully, we
Hmm.
have a way to try to remedy that. So best of luck to that initiative when it comes to the AI upscaled Star League VODs. Up next, we finally have our tournament results here. Up next, we have C Duckling Open number 131. This is our monthly Bronze to Diamond tournament. Again, we're just talking about amateur events and how the Magikarp Masters has concluded. Ours continue, but ours are not on as regular of a basis. These are monthlies. And this month, we did have Captain Fish popping off.
Yeah, the only Terran player to sign up
Mhm.
for Sea Duckling Open this week, and coincidence? I think not. He ended up winning the whole thing.
Yeah, we had some nice returning players. Tassadar, he's a player that hasn't played in our tournaments in years.
Yeah,
He's very old school.
yeah, Radar,
I
Fizz
believe
Serpent.
Yeah. Tassadar, Rada, and Frizz Serpent, all three of them, they're all friends. They're all living in Australia, of course. And it was really cool to see Tassadar once again after so long. Likewise, we had our regulars, and we also had a newcomer here, Sugar Colt. Sugar Colt did play for the first time in our Sea Ducking Open and had a
Sugar
good run
Cult
as well.
the second, mind you.
Yes.
So
True. Not the first.
yeah,
But we'll say we'll make it all the way to the finals, and hopefully it does become another regular in our tournaments. Always exciting to see a newer face rocking up. Again, this is a monthly tournament for Bronze to Diamond. Say Bronze to Diamond, Bronze to 4.2k MMR, I should
yep,
emphasize. Notably, there's a Terran that's missing here.
yeah. Shake my
Where's
head,
Yaku?
Papa Panda.
Where was Yaku of the Zaku, huh? Where was the
Yeah, huh?
what was the trash flash with no cash? What's going on?
Yeah. Well, I think you just answered the question. There was no cash.
True.
Not enough cash.
Smokes. No. Next time.
Next time.
But that also leads us into the Passioncraft Emerging Stars number 5. As a reminder, this is an event that is limited to players 5.5k and below. So this is GMs, but these are
Yeah.
low GM players that are typically duking it out.
A bit more of the semi-pro level as opposed to the amateur level.
Hmm. Yeah, and if you recall, I believe it was
Oh,
in events past where Inexorable was actually the champion of these events, and that's why he got noticed by Alien Esports, or at least it's one of the reasons that he got noticed by Alien Esports. He got picked up. This time, Inexorable, he actually went down early on in the tournament.
yeah, lost to his opponent in Moonbeam, Romanian Protoss player by the looks of things, who made it all the way to the finals. Look at that.
Mhm. Yeah, really impressive. And this is just a really good way to get an eye on up and coming talent because I'm familiar with Ledlex, Danielo, and Exorable. These are players that I've Deshi as well, Defi, but Moonbeam is someone that I haven't seen before. Same with Rennie Hour. Rennie Hour and Moonbeam, two players that I'm very unfamiliar with, but clearly are being more active. They're playing in these
Oh,
tournaments and they're performing well.
yeah, I'm kind of sifting through Rainy Hour's Wikipedia right now as he does have one. Apparently, he's a Hearthstone player.
Oh, okay, okay.
According to the Wikipedia, he's like early, I guess, Wings of Liberty player. He like played in the first GSS, and then he just became a content creator essentially.
Yeah, he was on
Oh,
Xenix back in the day. So he's actually an old school player that hasn't
he,
played StarCraft in a very long time. But suddenly he's back, and I think he even signed up, if not mistaken,
yeah,
for one of our tournaments.
He has played in a few, yes.
there we go. I will also say that.
Actually, I think
Yeah, I'm
he's our
looking at.
patron as well.
There we go. Beautiful. Yeah, I'm also looking through his what's it called? What's the word I'm thinking of here? Wikipedia for Hearthstone. Apparently, he's won quite a lot of things here, mostly team leagues, but yeah,
I'd
he
be
won Hearthstone Premier League 2015.
I'd be really curious to know what it was that brought him back. That again, like he played in the very beginning of Wings of Liberty, then of course had a good career in Hearthstone. I'm looking at his YouTube. His YouTube does really well. He gets a lot of viewership on YouTube, doing Hearthstone related content. But suddenly is playing in yeah, suddenly he's playing in something different. Suddenly he's playing and competing in StarCraft, at least at somewhat of a high level.
That banner on his YouTube page. That
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's great.
I love
I love
that.
it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So yeah, definitely an interesting character to return, and looking forward to seeing potentially more of him, or good enough to win this event. And hey, is definitely up
Yeah,
there low GM, so very nice to see.
yeah.
With that,
With this victory, he's also qualified for OSC Rising Star 14. So yeah, excited to
ah,
see a lot more of him.
yeah, okay. So congratulations to Rennie Hour. We'll see more of him in the upcoming OSC. So very well done. That leads us into the 3D Clan Community 2v2 SC Evo Cup. There was a StarCraft
Ooh.
Evolution 2v2 event, and we brought this up, I think, last week or maybe the week before. But the CIS region, they have been a lot more interested in StarCraft Evolution as of late. I think Bratok was running like some events last time, and now 3D Clan as well.
Yeah, you love to see it. And this isn't just like you were saying. This isn't just SC Evolution. This is just a 2v2 cup. It's SC Evolution 2v2, which I think we had something similar last week. I don't remember the name of the tournament, but yeah, it's very interesting to see. It's always going to be Brute War in StarCraft 2 versus Brute War in StarCraft 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's great to see. It's an interesting dynamic, and I'll be honest, I'm a little bit jealous. I wish I could cast this. Like, I wish I was able to cast this. I remember we actually wrapped up a broadcast and we raided Minu VK as he was streaming his POV playing with Bratok. They were playing together, so it was great to see. And yeah, with this Zardiant and Cygnus, they did end up winning 3-0 against Bratok and Minu VK in the finals. So an impressive performance. Even in StarCraft Evolution, do you see what I see? Terran and Protoss.
Protoss, yeah.
It's
Not a lot of
Terran and
Zerg.
Protoss.
You got Nikic and GG Machine getting knocked out in the lower bracket there. So, and Young Yakov
Yeah.
on the same team as Shameless.
Oh, yeah, he teamed up with Shameless. Really cool to see. They didn't do well, but really good to see. Really cool to see them.
They got taken out by the eventual champions. So,
True. Yeah, not wrong. So, really, it's always fun to see these pairings here. I don't know how well double Zerg can perform with each other. Actually, like,
one of the
okay,
weakest
like,
combinations, right?
yeah,
Or-
but my mind is like blazing through. Double Zerg, Brood War, and SE2 means that SE2 Zerg can benefit from like
True.
from Dark Swarm and like Plague as a
Plague.
factor. Yeah, like this adds a total like initially I was looking at this like a regular 2v2, but because it's Brood War and StarCraft, like there's so much more at play coming into these matchups. Like I'm really curious to see those matches.
I agree.
Yeah, Hyper One, get on it. SC Evo 2v2.
Yeah.
Need to make it happen.
Yeah,
Make
Hoper.
it. Yeah, Hopper. God damn. With that, that leads us into the StarCraft 2 AI Arena. Now, we have had events like this in the past. Probots comes to mind. Probots has
Right.
been around for a very long time. With people creating their own. I remember Scarlet made her own SE2 AI, and they'd compete against each other. It looks like we have something similar here with a new league, with a league known as the AI Arena.
Yeah, it's already been played out, or rather, I should say, it's already begun. And honestly, there doesn't seem to be too much information on it right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's limited information, but regardless, it's great to see that there's a thriving community surrounding AI in StarCraft 2. Again, Probots has been around for a really long time. It looks like I do know that Laughing Games has been quite successful when it comes to covering events like this. I know he does a lot of AI casting over on his channel, like it's his kind of big thing. So yeah, it's cool to see that interest. And honestly, we've casted a little bit. I think I've cast like 1 or 2 games of AI, and it's so fascinating to see how they interact with each other. Like you can see
right.
kind of like yeah, exactly. Like you can see them play against each other, and you can see like some of like the if and or statements, or like some of the like back end that's kind of like feeding into the player itself, like how they attack, when they attack, what units they make, how they respond to scouting. Like it's fascinating to see how they differ from each other specifically.
Yeah, where they draw the data from to kind of inform their decisions.
And how differently they're coded as well. Like there are some that have more of a baseline idea of what they want to make. There are others that are more reactive. There are others that try to be more aggressive. There are others that are hyper like fixated on micro. Like each AI is made in a different way, so they respond in different ways as well. Like that's what I find most fascinating about that sort of thing.
I can also tell a little bit from the authors of the bots as well, like what they wanted to emphasize is perhaps things that they felt that AI would benefit more from, that things that might be difficult for a human to pull off is something that the bot itself might be better at. Like you were mentioning, micro unit control, stuff like that. A human player has to rely on hands and mice and precision, stuff like that, whereas a bot would be able to just kind of input it automatically in game.
Exactly. It's really fascinating.
It might not know where it wants the macro to or how it wants to control towards, but precision, things like that aren't really a thing that a bot has to worry about.
Yeah, it's just really interesting because they're all flawed in their own way. Like it's not like these are like alpha stars fighting against each other, and even then, alpha star had its own limitations. But you can still see kind of like the framework of them, and it's quite.
Well, the big advantage that Alpha Star had was that because of how the StarCraft 2 engine itself was coded, I believe Alpha Star didn't quite have perfect information, but had close to perfect information every time. In this case, I'm not sure if that's if the authors of these AI bots were able to implement some kind of like a fog for the bots themselves.
No, yeah, they rely on scouting. They rely on scouting. They rely on
yeah.
Same as everyone else when it comes to competing and playing.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see. So best of luck to the initiative here for the StarCraft AI Arena. That leads us into some of our regional events. That leads us into the Legacy Weekly Japan 445 Prospect. Which is
I just rearranged my tabs a little bit wrong. I just misarranged my tabs a little bit, so yeah, I was searching for it.
But this is a weekly tournament for the Japanese region.
Yeah. A bit more of a, well, I wouldn't say amateur. It is open, but just because of how it is an open tournament, but just because Japan isn't typically a region that we think of right away for StarCraft 2. Yeah, a lot of these players are a little bit more unknown, I think, to most of us.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit more unknown, but they've been running this event for so long. I still remember the first time the Legacy Weeklies popped up, many years ago at this point here, and they're still going strong.
Yeah, back in 2016 or something like that. 2017, possibly.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been years, but they're still going strong. So shout out to all those that do work behind the scenes for Legacy Weekly Japan. Congratulations to Notakon. Notakon does take the 2-1. This is the prospect edition of the event. As a reminder, there are 2 different weeklies for these Japanese events. There's the prospect tournaments, and there is the more regular events. The prospect events are limited. They restrict otherwise winners and champions of the other weeklies. So this is more for the up and coming Japanese players more so than the more established ones.
Yeah.
It's for the prospects. Yeah, true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
For prospective champions for the future.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not
Yeah,
people
so
who have already won.
So congratulations to Notakon. That leads us into the Sunrise Cup 189. I believe not quite the first one of the year, but when we're getting into 2025, second edition of the year, and we
Might
do
as
have
well
a
be the first
Silky.
one of the year, yeah.
True. We have Silky popping off and becoming our champion.
There we go. Yeah, Silky being... I don't know what it is about Silky, but I feel in these past couple of months he has been a lot more motivated, he has been a lot more active, and it's great to see him playing and competing once again and being able to actually win the whole thing. Part of it might be due to his team, I have to say. I'm looking over this, and this is a team who I'm unfamiliar with. I was not aware that he joined a team called Super Kitty.
Yep. That was, I want to say, a couple of months ago. Did join Super Kitty, and they are quite active when it comes to the Chinese events, whether it's events like this, whether it's Chinese Team League events as well. So shout out to Super Kitty. And yeah, Silky, he was on hiatus, straight up. Like, he was on hiatus, maybe because of the holidays, Lunar New Year as well. But Silky recently returning to competitive form and clearly in form.
Yeah. And winning the whole thing and only dropping a single map in the semis. And he dropped a map to
shout out to
Protoss,
Mickey.
so, it doesn't count.
True. True. Shout out to Miggy, though. Miggy is his teammate, also on Super Kitty. Did take a map off of him, so definitely worth keeping an eye on Miggy after that result. With that, congratulations to Silky. Again, this is a weekly tournament for the Chinese region, so if you happen to be out there from the land of China, then do consider taking part, as this is, one of the regular events that do help facilitate and support the scene.
Yeah. All you need is a Chinese client of SC2. And you're in.
Even then, you don't remember. The Chinese server is not back. It's not.
Oh.
We don't have it anymore.
Yeah, true. They finally reached a deal, but I don't think they actually brought the server itself back.
Yeah. I remember there was discussion about it. People asking like, "Hey, did it return yet?" And they're like, "No, not yet. It's still we don't have our server."
So what was agreed to, guys?
Maybe one day. But that leads us into the Little League Cup number 34. Now, this is an 8-player invitational. We did cast this over on our channel, and this was a 2-day event. First day was all the quarterfinals. Second day was the semis and the grand finals thereafter.
Yep, and let me tell you, if you were deprived of Zerg for a while, as I think most of us were, if you wanted to root and cheer for a Zerg player, Little League Cup got you covered. Shin absolutely popped off.
Yeah, we had Shin, Rogue, and Solar. The 3 of them did step into the ring. The villain arc continues. Sound did to us. Sound did to take down
player,
Solar.
took him out, yeah.
Yep. Classic did very well against Gumiho. Classic has also been on the rise as of late. I know that Classic, he was on a bit of a downswing coming into January, but coming into February, Classic has been getting better and better results. Likewise, it does feel like a lot of players that kind of went on a break, they took some time off for the holidays, but now they are back in full swing, and Classic is looking very strong. I'll be honest, coming into this, I was expecting Zaun versus Shin in the finals, but Classic was able to barely bring Zaun down. It was a very close PvP. And a highlight of the tournament, I do recommend it, is the ZVZ. ZVZs are rare to begin with nowadays.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I think this is like our first ZVZ that we cast in a very long time. But Shin versus Rogue was insane. Mate, it was on Frostline. Frostline, which was game 1, Rogue, he opened 2 base. He went for a proxy third into a Link Flood. he had a proxy hatchery out on the map. Like initially when I saw the drone, I was like, is he gonna like proxy a spire? Like what's going? He went proxy hatch Ling Flood against Shin. It was crazy. And Shin, when he saw the 2-base opener, he Ling Flooded Rogue before Rogue could Ling Flood him. Like it was like it was a crazy series.
Look what you made me do.
Yeah, on Amygdala, Rogue, he opened 2-base muta, but he delayed a little bit by opening up with roaches to fake out. Shin didn't scout. Shin he went muta himself and he beat Rogue to muta as well. Like it was it was muta versus muta, but Shin got there first and he killed a Mineral. Like it was a chaotic series. I recommend it. It was beautiful. It was a short one as well. It's like 15 minutes. It was great.
I feel like you don't have to describe anything. You just have to say Shin versus Rogue.
Yeah.
And my mind fills in the blanks, and I can tell that that's pure chaos.
Yeah.
And usually, I will say, or historically, I should say, Rogue has had the upper hand the few times they faced in the past, but I'm glad to see Shin really popping off here and really rising and kind of overtaking Rogue a little bit here.
The one thing that I had to say after the series was that Rogue, like his builds were so smart. He had like his builds were so meticulous, and there was so much big brain going on. And I was like, yo, if Rogue played against Cyril, he would have won that series, 100%. The problem is that he was playing against someone
he was playing against someone with no brain.
Exactly. That's exactly
he was
what
playing
I said.
against somebody who doesn't think.
Exactly. You have Rogue doing all these like flips and doing all these mind games and trying to like hide tech and like deceive tech and all this, and Shin just all ins, mate. He just like doesn't care.
It's like Rogue comes in and it's like, okay, I've come up with the perfect plan. Yeah, I've blocked off. I've put a wall between me and my opponent, which will force him to go around. And when he goes around, there are crocodiles. But he will jump over the crocodiles. But when he jumps, that's when the lightning strikes, and that will hit him. It's so perfectly fit. And then Shin's like, I'm just gonna knock down your wall. I'm just gonna walk up to you. It's that old saying, right? Everyone thinks they have a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah, and Shin, he walked right up and he punched Rogue in the face, and all the plans, they shattered like around him. It was crazy. That's exactly how that series went. It was beautiful.
I love it. It reminds me again of that old leak of that training. I'd say leak. It's something that Oliveira said himself. That old advice that he was given by Maru, where he said, "Mate, you're using your brain too much in DVP. Just walk up and punch your opponent."
100%.
I love these players. Players like Shin, Oliveira, Maru, Bjorn as well, to a smaller extent, who are like, my opponent might have a plan, but I have a fist.
Exactly.
Honestly, it's been my mantra since I was like 9 or 10 years old. I played Final Fantasy Tactics Events 2. There's a quote in that game that says, the pen is mightier than the sword, the fist is mightier than the pen.
Exactly.
That's been my mantra since I was a kid.
Punch him in the face. Oh no. But honestly, like this ZVZ made me miss like Platypus Opens, like Grand Platypus Opens, like GPOs with like Gogo Joy
versus Jogo. Yeah, I knew exactly what you were going for there.
There was so much nostalgia in this series, and it made me miss ZVZ because it's such a rare matchup nowadays. Like legitimately, I think this is the first ZVZ we've casted all year.
I remember back then when we were complaining all the time. I was like, Mio Mike and Gogo Joey, yet another ZVZ.
Yeah.
Boy, did we not know. We didn't know what he had. Yeah. You don't know what you got till it's gone.
Exactly. So I do recommend it. In the end, we had Shin versus Classic. Again, a very aggressive showing by Shin. Classic had a bit of a harder time keeping up with that, with the all-ins, with the timing attacks as well. Shin was all over Classic. I should also say that Classic actually did open up aggressively for the first 2 games, and Shin was able to shut him down. So yeah, a bit of a different dynamic there, and Shin had a very, very impressive showing. Very well done. Does only drop a single map in the entire tournament to Classic, which is very dominant showing by Shin. Very well done. Really well done by Shin. GG.
Yeah. Great to see it as well. I mean, there's a lot of eyes on Shin right now. There's a lot of speculation just because, Dark is entering the military right now. And so I think there are a lot of eyes on Shin and Solar as to who is going to become the next best Zerg player in Korea.
100%.
I feel like most people are in agreement that Rogue, he's not fully there yet. He's not fully back in championship form. He's been looking good, but he's not like, the absolute top ahead above the rest of the pack when it comes to Zerg players in Korea.
Yeah. I think we mentioned this last time. The problem with Rogue right now is the same problem with Bunny, is that they are very sporadic with when they play. Like they play like 1 month and then they take a month off, then they come back a month. Like they're not. It seems like they're not. They're doing other things, maybe IRL, and there's other things that take up their time, so they're not full time invested to the game. So it's hard to really get a gauge on their skill and on their rate of progression. It's always why it's exciting to see them whenever they play, but at the same time, it's more of a rare sight.
They don't have that zest in them,
They don't. When their mother's in hospital, they go and they see their mother. It's crazy.
Exactly.
It's crazy. How dare they?
Visit their mom, yeah.
Oh God.
They're not in the waiting room, with with a laptop on their lap, like trying to be like, no, see, this is how I pay for the treatment.
Ah, there you go. God damn it, Zest. So congratulations to Shin. Shout out to Classic, of course, for getting into second place. And again, a shout out to the organizers of the event, to Saber, for hosting and organizing the Little League Cup. Again, this is a semi-regular event. I don't know if they plan on making this like a weekly, a bi-weekly, a monthly. I do know they want to make more, but it's more like whenever they have free time, they'll host an event like this.
And once again, because it is a Luli event, I look at the graphic. I gotta say, that's an interesting logo that they have for their event here, the Rice Bowl.
Yeah, I don't understand, but yeah, sure. They've got the Rice Bowl. They're like, give me more.
The Rice Bowl, yeah.
Yes.
The winner of the cup gets to eat. That's what I'm taking from this logo,
Exactly. They get seconds. As that leads us into the Enki Pro Series number 2. Shout out to Enki, of course. Enki has been. Yeah,
I can think of when I look at that.
100%. But Enki has been hosting these on a monthly basis. So this is a monthly. I believe the 3rd edition is on the horizon. He has yet to announce the specific details of the players, but I believe the 3rd one's on the way. And here for the 2nd one, once again, another TVP. For the 1st edition, we had Beyond versus Hero. Here we have Zan versus Clem.
Yeah, an interesting 2 players who you wouldn't normally expect to really face off that often, or really, I think, quite beyond that same level. And, in the end, Clem did manage to win. This was a best of 9, but I'm pretty surprised, pleasantly surprised, that Zaun made him work for it quite a bit. Took 3 maps here in this best of 9.
Like Zaun, he has. I think the last time he beat Clem was maybe in December, so it's been a while. But like Zaun and Clem, they do go back and forth when it comes to their maps, at least. And as you're saying, this series started off kind of bleak. It started with a 3-0 lead for Clem, so it was a massive lead for Clem early on, and it looked like it was going to be a wash. I remember I was definitely losing faith in Zaun when covering this event, but Zaun, he brought it back. He tied us up 3-3, winning 3 games in a row. In the end, Clem did take it, but it was a very exciting comeback that Zaun had begun, and really exciting back and forth in the second half of the series. So do recommend it, especially considering it's a rare sight. Best of 9.
Yeah. Best of 9 for a show match. That's most ideal, I think, is where you want to be seeing best of 9s.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So congratulations to Clem. Shout out to Zaun for making a series out of it. That leads us into the Super 732, another show match. This one a little bit shorter. Vetoes were available. There's a best of 7 between Skilless and Spirit.
Yeah, and honestly, this is one that on paper, coming into this, I would imagine that it would be a toss-up. Could really go either way. And in the end, Spirit did take it, and it didn't go to the ace match as I would have typically expected.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Skilless has been looking very good as of late, so I am a little bit surprised myself to see Spirit win as well as he did. Like, it was a much more dominant showing, 4-2 in favor of Spirit. Skilless did fight back, don't get me wrong, but Spirit did have a much more stronger showing here in this event, so very impressive play there by Piotr. Very impressive.
Yeah. If it was a best of 9, then we would have gone all the way to the ace, but
true.
So it's not the case in this time.
Not the case. So GG well played. Shout out to Spirit. My condolences to Skillus as he does fall here in this show match. That leads us into our next and final show match series. That leads us into the Basilisk Big Brain Belts. We typically have a
Yes.
theme running through this, and
And-
once again we have the return of Champ.
We do. We have Cham versus Lemon, which honestly pretty interesting matchup there. We don't really see, for obvious reasons, they don't sign up for a lot of the same tournaments. But at this point, I would kind of rate them at kind of a similar level, with Cham coming out a little bit ahead, and yeah, that was reflected. Cham did end up winning his series 3-1. But as always, with the Big Brain bouts, we try to look for themes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, yeah, there's two angles to kind of go about this. One of them is, I don't think the one that you're looking at, Light. It's
Okay.
the first angle is we got Roddy's firstborn in Goblin going up against Light's youngest in Eba.
Okay.
But the other angle, this is the other angle to look at this is potentially the, shall we say, divorce epilogue.
Excuse me.
As we have Jumi versus Nicorakt in kind of the lead up to Eba versus Goblin in the main event.
True. Yeah. There's definitely, I'm sure, some underlying tension between some of these competitors here, not necessarily facing off against each other, but in the event nonetheless. I was thinking, mate, some Latino America representation. We got Cham from Mexico, we got Inexorable from Brazil, we got Jimmy,
we got Nicorakt
learning Spanish.
coming in.
Nicorakt.
Yeah, Nicorakt coming in here. We got Goblin, obviously, coming in to the main event. Croatian and Espanol, they're pretty similar from what I've heard.
Yeah, Costa Rica, Croatia, basically same place.
Yeah, exactly. Same flag as well. So
True. Oh no. But yeah, as you mentioned, typically like Cham he's been invited quite often to this event. But usually he's up against a European player, so interesting to see him up against a Taiwanese player instead. Yeah. Cham does take it. Inexorable up against Roscoe. Inexorable does take it there as well. I'm a little bit unfamiliar with Roscoe, will admit.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say. Also, just speaking on Cham versus Lemon, nice to see a player from Asia, other than a Korean player coming in here.
True.
As I feel like for a lot of the Asian players, they're asleep during the Big Brain bouts. So, except for sometimes a Korean, and as we know, Korea, a lot of them are degens anyway, so they would have been awake either way. So, yeah, I guess to see some Taiwanese representation coming in here.
Yeah, this would have been like 2 a.m. in the morning for Lemon. Like, would have been quite early actually. Yeah. So, yeah, it would not have been an easy time to compete or to play. So, big shout.
Yeah, because I think Taiwan is earlier than Singapore, so I think it would have sort of been like 3 a.m. or something.
Okay. So yeah, that would have been a really rough time. So yeah, it's great to see some Lemon here. Maybe we get to see some Lancer, some Silky potentially. It'd be exciting to see some of the Chinese players invited to this event. We kind of glossed over it, but of course, Jumi takes on Nicorakt. Went all the way to the Ace match. Very close, very clutch series between Jumi and Nicorakt. Went back and forth.
Yeah. Which is what we want to see. And then, of course, we have our main event. We had Eba facing off against Goblin, I think before Epic Land. So, yeah, this was during Epic Land. So, yeah.
Yeah, I believe
wanted to make sure I had my dates right.
For sure. As Goblin does take it to the end. Fun fact, I know that Eba, his race showing a Zerg, but he did actually win. The one game that he won was with Protoss.
Oh, true. He played Protoss twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
He won one of those PvPs and then lost the other one.
Exactly. So, Eba, maybe he would have had better success if he had just played Protoss the entire time. It's possible. But
maybe.
Regardless, did go the way of Goblin. So congratulations to Goblin, Jumi, Inexorable, and Cham for winning their matches. And again, shout out to what in my mind would have been the highlight, which is Jumi versus Nicorakt. Very clutch, very close.
Yeah,
and again, we do rate both players quite highly.
I think that could have been the main event, definitely. But I think Jumi was featured in a main event recently, so yeah, I think they wanted to feature some other players this time.
Yeah, they tried to spread it out. They tried to spread it out.
82 was the laser versus 4 Jumi, so yeah, they wanted to feature some other players this time.
For sure, for sure. That leads us into our next event, into the OSC Rising Star 13.5. Why do we not have number 14? Why do we have half an event? Who knows? But regardless, we have the 13.5 event.
Because it's shorter. It's shrunk down. It's not
True.
gonna take as long, right?
It's only gonna take 1 month instead of 3,
Yeah.
maybe. But you're right. This doesn't have a lower bracket. Usually, there's a lower bracket here. Single elimination with a third place match, and I believe we just wrapped up with the quarterfinals.
We have indeed. We have our semifinals on the way there. Our final 4 players. Nicorak is going to be facing off against Mindle VK, and then Jumi going to be facing off against Shameless.
Ooh, some big results coming in. So Nicorak took down Night Phoenix 3-2. I'll be honest, I did favor Nicorak in that series, but I'm shocked that. Yeah, I'm shocked it went to the ace match. So big shout out to Night Phoenix for fighting back.
And I feel like I kind of echo that sentiments here. Those sentiments in the other upper bracket quarterfinals. Mindle VK versus Han Mono. I was fully expecting. No, wait. I think we talked about this last week. I was expecting a full 5-game series that lasts less than 10 minutes long.
Yep. And I'm sure that's what happened. I'm sure that's exactly what happened. Yep. So congratulations to Mindle VK and Nicorak for winning their matches. Again, I'm sure Homono versus Mindle VK was a lot of fun and a lot of just a lot of aping happened there. Scrolling down, Jumi takes down Young Yakov 3-0. I was favoring Jumi in that series. Jumi has been winning some big matches as of late, but to 3-0, that's impressive.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, I'm rooting for Jumi here in this tournament, but I wasn't expecting him to get that 3-0 against Young Yakov. Young Yakov, I mean, we were just talking about this a little bit earlier. He is one of the rising stars in the CIS region. Fjant definitely sees a lot of potential in him to become the next breakout, but to be fair, Fjant also said that he saw Jumi being the next breakout Protoss player, so unfortunate that they had to face this early in the tournament.
Yeah. Again, Jumi, his PvZ has been killer. Like Jumi, he's been popping off against players like Solar, against Rogue, against Shin as well. We'll get into it. That's a bit of a teaser of something to come. But Jumi, he has been insane in this matchup. And Jumi, he does advance on to face against Shameless. Shameless, he took down Rebellion 3-0. As you mentioned, coming into it now that we have our top 4, my eyes are going to be on Jumi to take it all.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Jumi, definitely, but I do feel that Shameless is a tough cookie to crack, particularly in the PvP matchup itself. I do feel like Shameless, he's improving. He's been improving overall, but in PvP, he has always looked terrifying. So I do want to favor Jumi here, but I wouldn't be too surprised if Shameless is able to take it and make it into those finals. That said, when it comes to the upper semis, I'm 100% rooting for Nicorak. 100% here. Ordinarily on a bracket, I would be rooting for both Nicorak and Mindle VK, but looking at our final 4 players, I just don't want a PvP final, so I'm rooting for Nicorak 100%.
Yeah, we got a soft place in our hearts for Mindle VK. You know, he, of course, has been running the Fire Cup very consistently and has been, of course, competing in a lot of our events. So big shout out to Mindle VK. But I agree. I do think that Nicorak is going to be coming in as the favorite player here. And I wouldn't even be surprised if we see a rematch of, I mean, we just saw in Big Brain Bouts, right? Jumi and Nicorak went to the ace match. We could even see them face off here as well. But as you mentioned, Shameless is no slouch either. So we'll see how these top 4 do place in the upper echelons of this event. Regardless, they're all in the money. Top 4 do get paid out, so well played to all 4 of them already. We'll just see who gets first, second, third, and fourth.
Yeah, and if we see the random bonus being awarded this time, I remember it was last week during the Wardy tournament. We weren't quite been able to. That was the what's it called, the off race bounty. Yeah, but we weren't quite able to confirm or determine, based on whatever criteria Wardy's using there, who is going to be awarded that.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see who gets that random player bonus. That leads us into the OSC King of the Hill, number 201.
I misread that. I assumed that's meant that whoever's playing random. I thought that's who had to play random. No, it's just given to 2 players in the top 8 randomly. They should use a different wording for that. That's my critique. Should be it shouldn't be random. It should be It shouldn't be random. It should
Uh-huh.
be
Uh-huh.
You mean like random raffle?
no, not random. Yeah, random raffle that works, but also Yeah, it should just be called the raffle, the random raffle.
Yeah.
But also,
Yeah.
if they wanted to call it the bonus award for a insert, because also the random is capitalized there. It's only capitalized when you're talking about players playing random.
How dare they?
You would
How dare?
lowercase it if it was just gonna be, anyhow thrown out there. But
These Zoomers,
you know,
uppercasing,
SMH.
lowercasing their words. What's
I
going on? What's going on? It's happening to
what's
society.
going on? You know, I have a rant about Zoomers these days that I'm gonna say for when we're not on air. But oh boy,
No.
grammar, man. I feel like people are forgetting how to. I feel like people are forgetting how to use grammar.
Forgetting how to write, random capitalized letters. What's going on? GG machine.
Which to be fair, I feel like where I'm at, most people that has never been a thing. Proper grammar has never been a thing here, but still.
But that does lead us into the OSC King of the Hill 201. Again, this is a King of the Hill format, purely 15 best of ones, back to back to back to back. Ideally, all unique players. We had some repeats here, but we had quite an event this week. We did have a lot of trading back and forth early on with Lunacy, GG Machine, Hydra.
I feel like it was last week when we were covering the special event, the OSC 30 player event, where we had some very strong win streaks coming in. This time, I feel like it's kind of the opposite. Like Spirit was able to pull off a pretty strong 5-game streak towards the end here. Cham had a 3-game streak, but apart from that, it was very much back and forth.
Yeah, this did have a little bit of a bittersweet moment in this weekly because I don't know if you notice, Cham never lost. Yeah, Cham, he never lost. He actually did start his game against Skillus. They did begin, but Cham, he timed out. He lagged out at the start of the game, and we tried to get him back. We did message him, and he let us know that he was hoping that he could maybe reset his modem or something, but his internet went out. His internet just straight up went out, and it didn't come back, so he could not play his game against Skillus. It would have been a banger, I'm sure. Not saying he would have beat Skillus, but I was looking forward to it. I was looking forward to some Cham versus Skillus. We never got it.
That we did not know, unfortunately. So we got a TVP, and it's especially bittersweet because it's Cham, right? It's a Zerg player, and we got to save them for as much as we can these days. So, yeah, could have kept that streak going. Could have had a couple more Zerg matches for us to enjoy.
I see what you're saying. The Protoss Cabal, they cut his internet. They got in, they cut the cables, and bam, he just couldn't play.
I feel like we can't call them the Protoss Cabal, because that's already trademarked by Zerg. It has to be like the Protoss...
Maybe the Council?
Council, yeah.
Protoss we have the Terran High Command, right? We have the Terran High Command. We got the Protoss
I feel
Council.
like High Command and Council are too... They're not sinister sounding enough, right? Compared to Cabal. Where there's that implication of crime and conspiracy going on.
I still think we could use the lore name of the Protoss Conclave.
Protoss Conclave?
Conclave.
Yeah, I guess. Because Conclave is usually very secretive and stuff, so what's going on there. Yeah, Protoss Conclave, that works.
For the Terran, do we say the Terran Confederacy? Do we? is that what? Do we just double down on that? I mean,
I feel like we could if we want, especially if we want to keep the C naming, like Confederacy. I feel like that's not exactly secretive, but it's got some negative implications. So, yeah, we can go with Terran Confederacy there. We could also go for, I think, Terran. I'm trying to think of another C name. Cult.
I feel like that fits maybe Protoss a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, so we're gonna have the Protoss Cult and the Terran Conclave.
Maybe.
No.
But regardless, Spirit does take down Nickrack. Then Skillus takes down Nickrack. Then Spirit goes on that massive win streak, as you did mention. Honestly, some really close games. I'll be honest, the closest match and the match that I feel like Jimmy should have won was Jimmy versus Spirit. I don't know if you watched it. Jimmy versus Spirit was insane. It was on Romanda side, and Jimmy took a massive lead. He was up on bases, he was up on workers, he was up in army supply. He had a crippled Spirit, And Spirit, he pulled a bit
I
of
remember
I think
that now. He
actually,
just went for a full all-in. He pulled the boys, and
yeah.
he was like,
He
okay, well,
did.
I'm down to 2 bases. The only option left is to attack. So I'm just gonna charge at you full force of everything I got. And Jumi was not prepared for the bear that he awakened.
There was Jimmy. He did fumble the ball at the end of that game, is what I'll say. That he played out so well, and it felt like a lapse of judgment a couple too many times, too many mistakes in a short period of time towards the end, and Spirit was able to clutch the win. And it was crazy close, very close, and it shows just how good Jimmy has been as of late. Did lose the Spirit, but should have won that game. I think he could have won that game. It was close.
He's the next
close.
breakout Protoss.
Oh yeah, definitely. That leads us into the OC Season 12 Championship. Here we go. We have updates here. We have the upper bracket round 4, upper bracket semifinals, and upper bracket finals all did conclude. We had some big names facing off against each other. Clem took down Geralt. Clem took down Dark to make it to the upper bracket finals. Max, Pax, and Hero, very close. Max and Hero, as it typically is between all of them, went all the way to the ace match. Max, he barely got the win over Hero. Max looked dominant against Bjorn, and Clem showed his dominance once again over Max, as Clem does make it to the grand finals.
Try that rock, paper, scissors, right?
Yeah, Clem looking very strong in that TVP matchup.
Yeah, Bjorn beats Hero. Well, it wasn't demonstrated here, but usually I would say Bjorn beats Hero. Max beats Bjorn, Clem beats Max.
Yeah, so with that, Clem does make it to the grand finals. That leads us into the lower bracket where we have our remaining players here. Hero, he barely took down Sola, very close, best of 5.
I was gonna say this was a series that I was actually able to catch, and I was pretty impressed with Solar, not gonna lie. He had some very strong attacks, a couple of roach-based builds that, when they worked really well. When the map was conducive for it, he was able to very much cripple Hero before he was able to get much of an economy up and running. But when it wasn't, I think it was King's Cove, was a map where Hero was able to just defend consistently. Solo was just on the back foot the entire rest of the map, the entire rest of the game.
Yeah, it was so close. It was so close between the two of them. In the end, Hero did win the series. Likewise, Skillus versus Geralt, also surprisingly close. I wasn't expecting that to go to the ace match, but Skillus and Geralt, Geralt, he fought so hard. Skillus had claimed it in the end, and now we have our top 6. We have our top 6 players. We have Clem in the grand finals. We have Max in the lower bracket finals. We have Dark versus Hero. We have Bjorn versus Skillus.
I like that we're getting at least one more match of Dark versus Hero.
Yeah, I felt the same. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
I feel the same way. It's a matchup that we don't get to see, or we used to see. We used to see so often, and nowadays less so. So it's great to see them finding each other here on the bracket.
Yeah, they always find each other, no matter what.
They do. So again, we're going to be wrapping up with this event at the end of the week, and we'll be catching up with the results next week in the next PondCast. So best of luck to all the competitors left. Clem is still the heavy favorite, of course. Clem, there's a reason why he's in the grand finals, but we still have some big names here that can threaten him, that can bring him down. Potential rematch with Max, potential Hero rising up. Skillus also been looking good recently. Skillus also has potential as a player, 100%.
Yeah, a little bit sad that I don't think we're going to be able to see Bjorn versus Clem in this tournament, as both of them have very, both of them definitely have very interesting styles. I miss the old TVTs, Clem versus Bjorn, but Clem versus Bjorn in a TVP is still, I would say, very exciting to watch.
Yeah, it's good that you brought that up, that even if we did see them, it wouldn't be a TVT, not at all. It would. But that leads us into our next big event. It leads us into Epic Land. Epic Land was over the weekend. We once again had Geralt traveling over to the UK to compete, to play.
Yeah, and to once again just secure his 2 kingdoms. It's not just the king of Poland. Now, with this victory over Zane in Epic Land, he's also the king of Britain.
Yeah, we go. And it was not easy either. Geralt, he worked his way through Raza, 3-0. He worked his way through Figaro as well,
Oof.
3-1. And then the 4-0 against Zane in the finals.
He beat both brothers. He forced the brothers to play against each other
He did.
in those
He
lower
did.
semis. Zane taking the win in the end there. Yeah.
hmm Yeah, exactly. A player that's missing here, Noiba.
Yeah, and we were like kind of speculating a little bit, right? Because there was another tournament that was taking place around the same time. We were like, Eva normally plays in this, but I guess he's busy with Epic Land.
Mhm.
That wasn't the case.
No, not
Eva,
at all. What happens? Yeah, what
where's the?
happens?
You got to fill out the excuse sheet now.
So no
Or
Eba in
doctor's note.
Sparkling Tuna Cup. Yeah, no Eba here either. Geralt, fun fact, he was actually playing in tournaments while he was at Epic
Yeah,
Land. He was playing in Open Cups. Like Geralt, he's so passionate, playing in everything he can, whenever he can.
he got that
So shout out
zest
to
in him.
Geralt. He does. He does. They Zest is inside him, and yeah, with that, he is our Epic Land champion. I believe back to back.
Let me double check that real quick.
Was it the last one or the one before that? He won.
He's
Not
won
too certain.
one.
Yeah, it was awesome. Back to back champion.
Ah, there we go.
Mhm.
Yeah, once again, he secures his 2 kingdoms.
Exactly. So congratulations to Geralt for winning it once again. Again, do check out the VODs over on Epic Land's channel. We did raid them a couple of times over the weekend. That leads us into the awardee Monday.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I was able to catch some bits and pieces while my sleep schedule was still broken. I gotta say, really impressive time. Production value. In terms of production value, Epic Land has been getting better and better and better with each iteration.
Oh yeah. Again, they've been at it for many years, and they've been iterating and improving quite often. So shout out to those working behind the scenes. That leads us into Sparkling Tuna Cup number 81. That leads us into this week's Open Cup. Again, we were missing some of our regulars because of Epic Land. We assumed Iba was not there. SMH.
But you know what? Shout out to Maddie from France coming in here and making sure that we at least have a Zerg player in the round of 16.
We had one Zerg player in the tournament. We had Matt rocking up. Let's go. He got knocked out immediately in round 16. But we had one Zerg, which we always appreciate. Again, our typical Zerg representatives here, like your Young Yakovs, your Waynes, your Ibas, not here, not this week. Instead, we had Skillus making his return. As a reminder, last week the finals was Skillus walking that royal road. He beat Ryung in the finals in the TVP. Here, they had a rematch in the semi-finals, not in the finals. And fun fact, 2 games in a row, Ryung, he played mech. He mech'd it up against Skillus. Didn't work. But
yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think there's a reason why we don't see that anymore.
I mean, Ryung and Gumiho, they make it work, and it's always fun. Didn't work this time, but do always appreciate it. Shout out to Ryung for competing in this event. Did go down to the semis this time. Skillus, he popped off when it made it all the way to the finals. And Björn, mates, I don't know what side of the bed he woke up on, but he 2-0'd everyone and even 3-0'd Skillus in the finals.
Yeah, flawless victory here from the side of Björn, winning the entire thing without dropping a single map. Fueled by his hatred of Protoss, I imagine.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he is. So really strong showing there by Björn. I'll be honest, it was a little bit sad to I say sad to see. It was a little bit bittersweet just because Skillus, he was really pressured because he had a bit of a timer. Skillus, he was scheduled like by the time we made it to the semis, I think he had like an hour or something before he had to play in the Woody TV February. He was scheduled to play in the Woody TV February like 1 hour later or like 1.5 hours later. So I did message him after the finals and I'm like, hey, sorry if you're stressed out. And he's like, yeah, like he was really worried about like his schedule and all that stuff, and he apologizes. He of course gave a lot of praise to Björn. Like Björn was a better player, but Skillus was definitely like stressed out about trying to play and in another tournament right after this one.
Yeah, it makes sense. Weren't quite able to get the full Skillus that I think we've gotten quite used to in the past, but yeah, it happens. So
yeah, for sure. It's all good. A reason for that as well, I guess this is a bit of a PSA. Our Sparkling Tuna Cup is 1 hour later than normal. We did decide to move it back an hour just to help out when it comes to European representatives because of daylight savings. Now it is earlier
That's
in
still a
Europe,
thing?
the event is. Yeah, it's so to help out with that, to allow players to sleep 1 hour more, we did make it we did push it back by 1 hour, so to help out the European boys.
I thought they got rid of that.
Nah, early in
Huh.
Korea.
It will be years before that happens, if it does.
Is there daylight savings in Singapore? Is there?
There should be, because again, our time is not in sync with the time of the sun. Noon here is 1 p.m. because we decided to sync our time to Borneo for whatever goddamn reason, because we saw that Malaysia's syncing their time to Borneo, so we have to follow as well. No, we didn't. We were already independent at that point. We didn't have to follow through with that, but we were like, no, we got to do it because Malaysia's doing it. So now noon is at 1 p.m. here. We need daylight savings, but we need to do it just once. So we set the clock back once and then leave it as is forever.
Wind it back. Wind
it back. We should not have the same time as Perth.
Makes no sense. You're in different parts of the world. Just look at the sun. Just look at
the sun. Just look at it. Just look at it. Just look at it at 1 p.m. Just look at it with your eyes, and you'll see that it's not right. You'll look at it, and you'll see, oh, this is not correct. And then you look down again, and it's like, now nothing looks correct.
You can't see, and then you're blind. That's the problem. That's what happened. They looked up at the sun, and then they messed up. They worked out the wrong time. It all makes sense. It all makes sense.
6 p.m. 7 a.m. should have the sun out already. God damn it! We shouldn't be waiting for it. 7 p.m. should not still be bright out.
With that leads us into the Wardy TV Monday, our next weekly.
We're covering tournaments. Yeah.
As we had Fjant, of course, winning the Sparkling Tuna Cup, this leads us into the Wardy TV Monday, where we had, once again, these two big names face off. We had Hero, we had Clem. Now, just to preface this, Max was not a part of this tournament. We've had players like Max get knocked out early on, but not this time. Max, he did not sign up for the Wardy TV Monday. Instead, we did have Hero and Clem facing off. Before that, shout out to Clem. He did feature his Protoss against Bunny, showcasing why he has some of the best PvT in the world. Took down Classic 2-1, went to the ace match, very clutch series. But in the end, we had a banger of a finals, went all the way to the ace match, very close, very clutch. Hero did win this weekly.
Oh, yeah. It was just last week we were praising Hero a lot for winning 3 tournaments in a row. What? Winning 3? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was winning 3. Winning 3 or winning 2. And yeah, that streak is continuing quite a bit here into this week. A little bit of a closer one this time, but yeah, did end up beating Clem in those grand finals and winning the Wardy TV Monday.
Hey, congratulations again, Hero. He's teamless right now, by the way.
True.
But he did take down the world champion. But again, they go back and forth. There's a reason why I went all the way to the ace match. It's often very close between the two of them. Always a lot of fun to see them face off. So congratulations to Hero. When it comes to some standout performances here, we had Jumi. I mentioned this before. Jumi and his PVZ. We were giving him praise. 3-0 Young Yakov. He takes down Shin 2-1. Doesn't just take him down 2-1. He does it accidentally. We rated him later, and after the series, Jumi, he was complaining about how he was starving, he was really hungry, and he explained that at the start of the series, he actually put some food in the oven because he just assumed that Shin would beat him because Shin was favored, and then he accidentally beat Shin, so he couldn't eat his food. He had to keep playing. No.
Yeah. Luckily, the food didn't burn in the oven. Well, I'm hoping it didn't burn. It might have.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it didn't burn.
Yeah. He said that he enjoyed it afterwards, after a series against Classic. There we go. But that's also why Jumi, he actually tried to counter rush in game 2. It was crazy. Didn't work, but he
just wanted it to end.
He just wanted his food, mate. He just wanted his food. For sure. As Hero does claim it in the end, so congratulations to Hero. That leads us into the Monday Night Weeklies, again organized by TKL. This is the European Weekly, And mate, oh my god, once again we had these two facing off. This time MaxPax was a factor. This time MaxPax did compete, but MaxPax, he did not make it to the finals.
Well, he was a factor, but I don't know if he was, if that really got in the way of anything here.
Yeah.
For MaxPax says, yeah, I did face Clem in those lower bracket finals and did lose to Clem. Clem eventually, well, shall we say, Clem and Hero faced off in this tournament.
Yeah.
Not once, not twice, but 3 times on the same bracket.
Yeah, 3 times here. Before we get into that, shout out to Trigger. Like the only reason why MaxPax got knocked down is because Trigger knocked them the hell down. Again, we kind of gloss over Trigger. Trigger, he wasn't playing in the Woody TV Monday, I don't think. And Trigger, he's been a little bit less active this week. But Trigger, he is still a force to be reckoned with. He's still very in form and still a danger to a lot of these guys. So big shout out there to Trigger to cause that upset to bring down MaxPax. Did fall to Hero, but again, he's arguably one of the reasons why we never saw the MaxPax versus Hero rematch.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... I'm pleasantly surprised here by Trigger's performance. Yeah, that's really impressive coming out from him. 2-0 GG Machine and then taking out MaxPax 2-1. MaxPax did eventually end up getting his revenge in that lower bracket.
True.
They faced off against each other again, but yeah, that was a best of 1.
Yeah.
If it was a best of 3, maybe Trigger would have been able to beat him again.
Maybe. When it comes to the events, Clem, once again, he showcased his Protoss. Clem, he beat Fjant with his Protoss in PvT. So Clem, he went up against Hero. Hero, as you mentioned, did bring him down twice here. Hero taking down Clem 2-1, and also was able to beat him once again in that final ace match in the grand finals. Was able to bring it down 2-1 as well in that final best of 3. So congratulations, Hero defeating Clem twice in 24 hours.
Yeah. Twice?
Oh, 3 times.
3 times, yeah. I was going to say, they faced each other 4 times in the span of 24 hours, and 3 of those 4 times were on the same bracket, on the same tournament here. They go back and forth. I mean, Hero beat Clem in 3 out of the 4 series, but Clem was able to take the initial final best of 3.
Yeah.
In this tournament, yeah. So
yeah, before the reset match. So yeah. Again, it just shows like how close they are in skill. It does show how competitive they are with each other. So congratulations to Hero, but a shout out to Clem for making it that far. Meanwhile, the Zerg player that was able to win the bonus this time was GG Machine. So congratulations, GG Machine. He made it to one of the earlier low bracket rounds. He took down 3 Point to earn that money. Did knock 3 Point out and gets $25.
There we go.
So shout out to G Machine. That leads us into the biggest on Monday, number 20. Here in this event, MaxPax, he stayed up and he got his revenge. We have MaxPax, he took down Hero in the semi-finals. It went to the ace match, went all the way to game 3, but this time MaxPax, he pops off. He takes down Hero 2-1, and MaxPax is the one instead to make it to the finals.
Yeah. Not quite able to take out Clem, though. Clem does beat him 3-0, but it's a good showing to make it to those finals in the first place, especially when you're able to get a little bit of revenge on someone who's consistently been beating you.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So MaxPax 6 and Hero. As you mentioned, Clem's his performance against MaxPax was quite similar to his performance in the OSC Season 12 Championship. Just a really strong showing there to Clem. Clem, once again, he did defeat Cure with his Protoss. So again, Clem showing off his PvT. And of course, the 3-0 over MaxPax. So very impressive run there by Clem. He does still claim his win this week.
Yeah. Gets at least one.
Yeah. Exactly. With that leads us into this morning's tournament in the Tenacious Turtle Tussle number 28. Whew, again, this was played out this morning. And we likewise also featured our own TVPs.
And I gotta tell you, I'm so upset that I was asleep while this was going on. Because this TVP Finals is one that's been in the making since at least December, I want to say. Possibly also November. Fjant versus Creator, the Mountain Boys.
Oh, let's true. I should have. I didn't bring that up. I should have. My fucking. This is why I need you, Yako. True. The Mountain Boys. They've been going off. They've been, of course, touching grass together throughout the course of the off season, and they have found tranquility. They found zen in the mountains, but now they're forced to face off here in the finals. Bjorn, he 2-0'd his way to the finals. Creator 2-0'd his way to the finals as well, and in those finals, went to the ace match.
Yeah, went to the ace match and was a bit of a reverse sweep here. Bjorn
Mm-hmm.
ending up taking the victory after Creator was already up at match point after game number 2.
Yeah, Creator had a really strong start, by the way. I was so impressed. Creator, he was leading 2-0. And even on Frostline, I'll be honest, there's a world where this is a 3-0. Like, where Creator wins on Frostline as well. Creator, it was crazy. He opened up, he shut down the initial Reaper Hellion aggression. Bjorn opened up Cloak Banshee tank. Creator, he scouts with a hallucination. He forces the cloak to be cancelled. Creator, he catches the Banshee, kills the Banshee. He denies the tank production. In the follow-up, Creator, he denies stim. He blinks in, snipes stim, blinks out. Like, Creator, he deflects the first push. He had a really strong start. And then everything ended really quickly as Bjorn, he just caught the army. The army was caught in between the bases. Bjorn, he got a surround, killed the army, GG. And then everything swung in favor of Bjorn. Like, it was just one wrong move out of Creator, and then everything just fell apart.
That's how it goes a lot of times.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've been in those shoes myself, so
Yeah, for sure. It happens. It happens to the best of us. But it was a really, really exciting series. I do recommend the VODs for Bjorn and Creator. In the end, Bjorn, he brought it back 2 games in a row. Creator, he attempted to cheese in the final game, did go proxy Dark Shrine, and Bjorn had a Raven. So like it was a rough way to end the series, but like the lead up to the end was really solid, so I do recommend it. It was very fun, very clutch. Congratulations to Bjorn for winning his weekly here, for winning the Total Tussle, and a shout out to Creator for coming in second place.
yeah, and giving us a really close finals as well.
Oh yeah, very, very close finals. That leads us into the Wardy TV Monday February, the Wardy TV 2025 February, I should say, where we do have updates to jump into. I believe the last time we were here, Yaku, we actually, I believe, just wrapped up the group stage.
I believe so.
I believe the group stage had concluded, and we were predicting for the playoffs. The playoffs hadn't begun yet. The playoffs had not begun. We were predicting for it. I believe they were seeded already, and the playoffs have now come to pass.
We're looking at Pigsty here.
Wardy TV February.
Wardy TV February, yeah. Some of the playoffs have, some of the matches in the playoffs have been played.
It's done.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
so
okay.
so again, we do have the playoffs concluding here. Hero, he was able to have a deep run. He 3-0'd Bjorn. He 3-0'd Zan. Was able to take down Spirit and went up into the finals. Clem also had his performance, his run as well. 3-0ing Skillus.
Oof.
That was a series that that Skillus had to play after his Sparkling Tuna Cup run, if you recall. So he had to play against
Probably
Clem.
a little bit of stress still in his system at that point.
For sure. It was a stressful day there for Nikita. Clem 3-0s. Clem, he 3-0s Gumiho with Protoss, by the way. So Clem, he shows off his Protoss once again before winning the entire Wardy TV February.
Yeah, it was Terran. Yes, he swapped Terran, and then the next one Protoss, and the next one Terran again. If we had another round after that, I want to say he'd face a Terran opponent, so it'd be Protoss again.
Potentially. Yeah. So shout out to Clem and Hero. For this event, as a reminder, Max Pax did not play. He was not a part of this event. So there was no potential Clem versus Max Pax finals. I remember you had some high hopes for Showtime. I remember you wanted Showtime to do well for himself. Shin did bring him down to the first round.
Seamless, so.
True. I expected Hero versus Shin in the semis, but Spirit 3-0 of Shin. 3-0. That's crazy. That's insane.
Yeah. Sorry, he popped off.
He did pop off. So really impressive showing there by Spirit, knocking Shin out. Bearing in mind this is a Shin that did recently win the Little League Cup, so Shin is in form, but Spirit did 3-0 him. Likewise, scrolling down, I think we both had high hopes for potentially Clem versus Classic. I think we were like, oh, maybe Clem versus Classic in the semis. But Classic, he does fall to Gumiho. I believe Gumiho got his revenge because if you remember, Classic did defeat Gumiho in Little League Cup, but here Gumiho brings Classic down.
Yeah. Not only that, he brings down Classic, getting his revenge, but he also beats Cure 3-1, which once again, things are thrown up. Things are in flux a little bit. Who the best TVT player in the world is right now?
We know it's not Clem.
I think it's definitely not Clem. Yeah, he doesn't play TVT. But yeah, I think it was just last week where we were like, okay, Gumiho, it's been a while since we've seen him in TVT, so I think I'm ready to say that Ryung is the best TVT player in the world again. Gumiho heard that, and he took it personally. So he had a very dominant win against Cure here, beat him 3-1, and now it's up in the air again. Who the best TVT player is it Gumiho or is it Ryung?
Exactly. We need a show match. We need a show match. We need like a Little League Cup show match or something to have them face off against each other to find out. Yeah. Enki Pro Series Best of 9, Ryung versus Gumiho. Beautiful. We'll see if we can get it. But in the end, of course, Clem did take down Hero. I mean, I say, of course, they have been trading this week. Hero defeated Clem in 2 finals. Clem took down Max in the Pegasaur Monday, and Clem finally secures a win against Hero this week in the Wardy TV February. GG well played. Congratulations to Clem. Shout out to Wardy for hosting the event. Shout out to Hero for coming in second place. That leads us into the final event to cover here, the Pigsty Festival 5.0. We did go over the qualifiers last time, but now we have the group stage that is taking place. We have our 4 groups, and looks like Group A did conclude during this broadcast.
That it did, and yeah, the rest of the groups are going to be played out in the next couple of days, but yeah, we were kind of hoping that we would be able to make it this far pretty quickly, or make it to the end here pretty quickly, so that we had a little bit more time to predict, but yeah, it was not the case here. In the end, Serral, Shin, Cure, Trigger did play out their matches, and Serral and Shin are the 2 who make it through. All right, way to go, Shin.
Yeah, Shin, so I thought these were round robin groups. No, they're GSL groups. They're GSL groups here. So Shin, he actually lost to Cure initially. So Shin got knocked down to the elimination match. Shin took down Trigger. Cure lost to Serral, and then Shin beat Cure in their rematch.
There we go.
It's been a while since we've seen the GSL group. I appreciate it.
Yeah, a little bit more variety coming in here, yeah. And we have the previews for the other groups, B, C, and D as well. Yeah, you'll love to see it.
For sure. So congratulations to Shin and Serral for advancing out of Group A. Cure and Trigger are knocked out of the tournament already, and now we have Group B, C, and D to dive into. All right, Yaku. Coming into Group B, we got 4 players. We got Clem, who's Terran, but will play Protoss against Bunny. I can guarantee you that. We have Bunny, of course. We have Solar. We have Xian. Who makes it through? Who doesn't?
Well, obviously, Solar has to make it through. Continue that villain arc.
He has to make it through to continue the villain. Okay.
Yeah, because here's the thing: the further you get, the bigger the fall.
Okay.
The Solar, he's gonna make it to the grand finals. He's gonna be up 3-0, and his opponent's gonna reverse sweep.
There you go.
That's how you reach the depths of villainy.
So who are your predictions here for Group B?
Well, Solar, obviously, and I feel like you can't really bet against Clem. So I'll say Solar and Clem.
Okay.
But I do like Bunny a lot.
Yeah, we're big Bunny fans here for sure. I mean, I think I'm going to go alongside you here, Clem. I got a lot of faith in Xian. Xian, he's been looking really strong as of late, so I'll go for the more Clem and Xian pick. But I appreciate your Solar pick. I do appreciate it, Yaku. Definitely.
Yeah,
for sure. Leads us into Group C. Group C has Hero, Rogue, Skillus, and Fjant. 2 Protosses, 1 Zerg, 1 Terran.
Okay. I feel like I can't root for Protoss here.
Okay.
Maybe I can, because in Group A you have full... That's a thing, right? Okay, I'll say Bjorn as one of them who makes it
Mhm.
through.
Mhm.
The other one is going to be either Hero or Skillus, but my head is saying Hero. My heart is saying Skillus, but I feel like Hero has just had such an impressive result this past week that, yeah, I'm going to lock it in. Bjorn and Hero.
Yeah, Fjant and Hero. I think I'm gonna go alongside you with that one. I mean, Hero's been looking really in form. I'm torn between Fjant and Skillus. Personally, I'm very torn between Fjant and Skillus. I want them both to do well, but if I had to pick one, I think I'm gonna go for Fjant. Currently, I might be a little bit clouded by the recent Fjant 3 or Skillus score in STC, but best of luck to Nikita, best of luck to Skillus. That leads us into Group D, the final group here. We have 2 Protoss, 1 Zerg, 1 Terran, Max Classic, Dark, and Maru. Maru, he rarely competes in these events, but he has been invited, and Maru, he is here to show us all what his form is, as we haven't seen Maru since Lily Cup.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Over a month ago at this point.
Yeah, beginning of January.
Beginning of January, yeah. Okay. So I do want Dark to do pretty well here, just because I do know that Dark's going to be going into the military soon, so I'll say Dark is 1. I'm also going to say Maru as my second pick, and that's partially... I feel like if Maru was in any other group, that would have been a very easy hit decision, but when you're in a group of Dark and Max packs, I do feel like those are players who have been able to take Maru down in the past, so that's a little bit more murky. I'm still going to root for Maru to make it through, though, because more than anything, I want to see Maru versus Clem. I want to see Clem's Protoss finally go up against Maru.
That's fair. That's fair. I agree, right? Like, Maru is the only Terran that hasn't lost to Clem's Protoss because they haven't played, right? That's the only reason. The only reason is because they haven't played. So I agree. I want to see Maru advance out of this just so we can play against Clem. So I'm all for Maru making it through, and it's hard to ever bet against Max Packs, right? Like he had a little bit of a lackluster week this week, but part of that is also because he was just absent. Like I say that did lose a trigger, but I think it's hard to bet against him here. It's a rough group. I think there's a lot of favorites in Group D. I want to say like the skill is maybe closest in Group D than any of the other groups, and this is maybe the hardest one to call. Who you looking?
I'm 100% agree. Like I said, Dark and Maru.
Okay, Dark and Maru. I'm gonna go
Also,
Maru and
also that has the added bonus of me not rooting for Protoss. So
sure. I'm gonna go Maru and Max Packs. I love Dark. I want Dark to do well, but there's too much. There's too much against him. There's too much Protoss, mate. There's too much Protoss for Dark.
Protoss,
So Max Packs and Maru, but we'll see. We'll see who does advance on. Again, these groups are going to be played out over the next couple of days. So over the next 4 days here, there's going to be non-stop group stage action. The playoffs are scheduled to start in 2 weeks' time. So there's going to be a week break in between group stage and the playoffs of the Pixel Festival. So we'll keep you guys updated next time.
Yeah, by then we should be having a lot of results online. Not quite our playoff results, but we'll have our brackets seeded at the very least.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So with that, look forward to the Pixel event. Shout out to Pig, of course, for casting, and I believe he has Rotterdam on as a co-commentator. Likewise, casted in other languages as well, in French, Taiwanese, alongside other languages. So do check them out. Meanwhile, we have the sign-up list. Sign-up list is available if you want to play in any of these tournaments that you do see before you that we have covered. Then check out the sign-up list. We have the final Magikarp Masters Cup that is going to be in less than 2 days, so do check that out. We have the KSL.
There are 2 final Magikarp Masters Cups, so this is the first of them.
There you go. There's 2 more Magikarp Masters Cups on the way.
So I don't have to reset my sleep schedule yet. I'm safe.
There you go. We have the KSL, we have Sunrise Cup, we have StarCraft Evolution, Passioncraft, STC, Legacy Weekly Japan, Hub Cup, and many, many more. If you want to take part, if you want to be a part of these events, if you want to take part in these tournaments, then do check out that sign-up list. You get all the information you need there, the links to the match arenas, Discord, sign-up links, and much, much more. So check out those sign-up links. Meanwhile, if you want to help us support us here on the CranKy Ducklings, Patreon is the place to be. !Patreon in the chat, and you will get a link to our Patreon page. This is a way to fund our tournaments. 100% of the money on Patreon goes towards our events that we do host on a regular basis. Monthly tournaments, weekly tournaments, all funded via Patreon. You can help support us and the StarCraft scene through Patreon.
Yeah. Once again, real close at stretch goal.
Really close. Really
Less than
close.
$20 now, I think.
Yeah, exactly. We're just on the edge here of that goal, so you can help support us, you can help fund. Otherwise, thanks so much for tuning in here. Again, this was a bit of a longer event, as we did go in depth when it came to the TLMC maps, but again, we probably won't be getting into them until the TLMC map events.
Until the next map pool is announced, yeah.
Yeah.
Which could be a while.
Could be. So, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for enjoying or for taking part in this. Again, just catching up with all of the events on the week. So much to go over. Thank you so much, Yaku, for joining me. And Yaku, do we have another stream planned? The Players campaign?
Not yet. I don't want to jinx anything.
Okay.
I may be more free in March. So
Okay.
we'll see what happens then. If I have any last minute adjustments to my schedule there, we might finally do the you know what? We might finally do the Protoss campaign, and because in honor of St. Patrick's Day, we'll do it while drinking whiskey. If I'm free. If I'm free on that day. If not, then we'll do the drunk Protoss campaign another day.
Let's go. So there you go. You can check out Yaku diving into some more brutal campaign if you wish. Check out his stream. I would say, Yaku, don't forget to back up your VODs. Remember that VODs are going to be deleted from Twitch. So I don't know if you've exceeded that limit or not, but you may want to look into.
I haven't, because all my previous VODs were auto deleted. So
okay.
I don't keep up on highlights.
God damn it, Yaku. God damn it. But say what you can. Say whatever you have highlighted, I would say. Otherwise,
my old VOD folder
from
OBS also got wiped.
Oh no!
Because of some Windows thing.
We'll find some of Yaku's VODs. We'll find them.
And that's not a lot. That's not a lot of worth. That's not a lot of value in there. I think some of the old art streams, prior to getting muted, were in there, but. So like the pre-2025, the pre-2024 ones, so 2021, 2022 were both muted. 2024 was also muted, but I actually have the raw file for 2024. 2021, 2022 though, there's some muted audio in that I don't think I'm gonna be able to get back.
At least we have some amazing clips, like he's breathing.
He is breathing. That was 2020. 2020, I have the full thing on YouTube, so.
Okay. There you go.
Unmuted on YouTube, so
we'll get on it. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in, everyone. Hey, Yaku, do you have anything you want to say before we head off for the evening?
Don't destroy your sleep schedule. It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Get some rest, get some sleep. Again, if you want to tune into myself, I do stream at my own channel, @_VIP. I try to stream whenever I can. Maybe next week. We've been quite busy casting. Our next stream here on the CranKy Ducklings is going to be in around 10 hours. 10 hours time, we're going to be live with Amantes. Amantes is the StarCraft number 36. Do check that out. We also have OSC Events Championship in the evening. Get some sleep, Yaku. God damn it.
I have to be awake in 12 hours. I have to be awake anyway, so.
There you go. Be able to tune into some Eric action. Otherwise, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Check us out on all the socials: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Discord. All things CranKy Ducklings. We do upload on YouTube on a daily basis, and we'll see you guys in 10 hours for some Amantes, the StarCraft.
Yeah. We'll see you then.
Okay. Shout out to Kura for handling the production. See you next time.
See you then.